I am Cole Bryson. Glad to be with you on this Friday edition of Wire to Wire. Every single weekday, 3 to 7 p.m. So glad to have you a part of the program. Diesel's still on his vacay. He will be back on Monday, so we'll look forward to his return. He did make a little pit stop today, I saw on Twitter, and he has lined up a guest for next Tuesday that you're going to want to see, that you're going to want to hear, rather. A very, very fascinating and funny guest that Diesel has lined up. If you listened to the show last week, you probably know where Diesel stopped by, but I'm not going to spoil it. I will let him tell you the story on Monday. So he'll be back on Monday on the stream. Alex Guest, he's currently, that was pretty bad. I want to back up, Alex. I apologize. I said formerly like you've been fired. He is the Saturday Morning Scramble co-host with myself on Saturdays during the fall. And just so happened he found his way to the studio today. I can't look at you and talking to the mic at the same time, but it's good to have you. First appearance on the Wire to Wire show. You like it?
Yeah, you didn't tell me that I had to be here until 7.
7 o'clock?
Yeah, you didn't tell me I had to be here until 7.
Is that mic not working, Brandon?
No.
The mic's not working.
Try that one. Let's try the other mic. This is a flaming start. As I
Man.
bring somebody in, you turn that mic on. There you go.
Yeah, you didn't tell me I had to be here till 7.
I apologize for giving you the wrong mic as well. So Alex Guest sitting in with me today. Alex Guest, again, you can hear him on Saturdays with me during the fall on the Saturday Morning Scramble, which will be happening again in 2024. And he sits in with me today here on Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. Appreciate you being a part of the program. So many ways for you to get in touch with the show. I want to let you know we're going to look at, to start off the show today, we're going to look at the top wide receivers, the top running backs, and the top quarterbacks coming into the 2024 college football season. And we're going to tell you, as well as ask you, the Tolo, the listener, stock up or stock down on each player. Again, these are the top players that we expect in 2024, Alex, to have, a good year, and we expect these guys to be at the top of college football. So you can be a part of the program by texting the show 71307. Start your text with the word fan. That way we can see the text. Again, that's 71307. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can also call into the Renewal by Anderson fan phone when they are open, and they are open during this very segment. That's 844-FAN phone. You can reach us 844-326-3663. So, Alex, I have a list of what we expect to be top players in college football in 2024. I didn't want to bore the audience by going through the tight ends and the offensive tackles and the interior offensive linemen and the edge defenders. So we'll stick to the wide receivers, we'll stick to the running backs, and we'll stick to the quarterbacks. By the way, just a programming note, there has been a good bit of breaking news within the last few hours. One out of the NFL, one out of the NBA, and another one out of the broadcast world, okay? So we'll get to some headlines coming up very soon on the show. Madcraft, good to have you in the stream. Madcraft says, what's good, Alex?
What's up, Madcraft?
All right. Alex, do you want to start? We have quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. Let's say start with wide receivers. You good with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, we're looking at what we think to be the top players in college football in 2024. And as we go through these, you, the listener, you, the Tolo, can decide whether you say stock up or stock down on this player. Basically, if you expect the stock to rise or if you expect the stock to fall. I love this text from the 432, not because I agree with it, but because we're coming in hot today already before we even dive into the topic. This texter says, fan, before the list even comes out, Sanders down. So we're not even the quarterback yet, and we're already getting Shedeur Sanders slander on the text line. Not really sure how I feel about that. Again, you know how I feel about his leadership qualities, as I talked about yesterday on the program. But let's start with receivers, as I said. And you know what's interesting? We've had this past 2024 draft. We had some pretty decent receivers. Rome Odunze from Washington. Marvin Harrison Jr., my favorite receiver in the entire draft. However, Alex, when I look at this wide receiver class in 2024, I'm not super blown away. The number one wide receiver that Pro Football Focus has listed and going into the 2024 season is Luther Burden III. Luther Burden III plays for Missouri. If I'm saying his name right, Luther Burden III is compared to a NFL receiver, Alex, in Deebo Samuel. Pro Football Focus says, if you're looking for the next Deebo Samuel, look no further. Burden has similar size to the star receiver who's 5'11", 208. He's compared to Samuel's 6 foot, 215-pound frame, and the two are at their best with the ball in their hands. The sophomore's 725-yard after the catch were among third all FBS receivers this past season, while his 314 receiving yards after contact were the fourth most. So he's very good after the catch. He's very good after contact. Luther Burden from Missouri, not someone that we've really heard of a lot. He didn't get a lot of national coverage last year because of the guys that we did have in the NCAA wide receiver draft class, like the Marvin Harrisons. So what I'm going to do is, and you're welcome to jump in here, Alex, but Luther Burden III, he may be great. He may be, Pro Football Focus comparing him to the next Deebo Samuel. But I'm going to put an entire stock down on the entire receivers class. Luther Burden out of Missouri, McMillan out of Arizona, Emeka from Ohio State, Tez Johnson from Oregon, Xavier Restrepo from Miami. There's nobody there, in my opinion, that jumps off the page to me as a guy that's going to go early in the draft, as a guy who's going to make a splash, as a guy who's going to be a Marvin Harrison. So I'm going to put an entire stock down on the 2024 receiving class.
I think Burden could end up late first round, maybe next year, depending on team needs and who is in that late first round. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's nobody there that's really jumping out to me. There's nobody that really says, "Hey, it's going to be a breakout year." Well,
when you talk about Burden, if he does go late first round, that would be late compared to what Deebo did in terms of what the receiver is. Madcraft says Restrepo's stock way up. He now has Cam Ward talking about the Miami Hurricanes, and Madcraft, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you are a Miami Hurricanes fan, because he says stock down for any FS who receiver. Texter says Travis Hunter, receiver and DB, stock up. We had not got the Travis Hunter yet as one of the players in 2024 that we'd be talking about. We have this receivers list, and we know that Travis Hunter, who's in Colorado, will get a lot of the spotlight. He'll get a lot of attention. But Texter, to your point about Travis Hunter, we saw him have a good start last year, but other than that, he kind of faded out. I know he had some injury problems, and obviously you can't help that. You can't blame him. But I don't know. I just don't know that I'm going stock up in Travis Hunter when I don't think the team's going to be that good. I simply do not think Colorado as a team is going to be that good in 2024. Their over-under win total, as I said yesterday, is set at 4.5. Vegas is telling you they're around the 4-win mark. So Travis Hunter as a receiver and DB, the individual, maybe Texter, if you're saying this text comes from the 907, if you believe that his stock will go up in terms of him having a better year, yeah, I'd say he has a better year as long as he doesn't get hurt, because he was hurt last year for a good portion of the year. So Travis Hunter, I'm not going to say the jury's still out on him, but I don't know that I'm completely sold in terms of him being one of the best in college football.
Colorado does not have an easy schedule next year either.
They don't. I looked at it yesterday, and it is it's easy in the beginning. They have a few teams, a few opponents in the beginning, very similar to last year, where they did get some wins. But the back half's not easy, and they may get 3 out of the first 5, Alex. But the back half of Colorado's schedule is going to be tough,
right?
So I don't see them again when you're going against good competition. You know, your receiver, Travis Hunter, he may be better than he was last year. I'm just not totally sold on putting stock up on Travis Hunter quite yet. Brian Pettit says, "What's up, guys, in the stream?" Brian, good to have you in the stream. Again, we're live Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. He's Alex Guest, co-host with me on the Saturday Scramble in the fall. I'm Cole Bryson. Alex is sitting in for Diesel, as Diesel will be back on Monday. You can text the show 71307. Phone lines open as well, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. I don't know why I always get hung up on those last 4, but I do. Let us know who you think stock up, stock down in 2024. Running backs. Alex, when you look at the list of running backs, I hate to be this way. There's nobody that jumps off the page to me. There's no local running backs other than the North Carolina Tar Heel Omarion Hampton. There's no Phil Maffa on this list, who I do think will have a breakout year. I do think I would say Phil Maffa, I would categorize him as a stock up. I think Maffa, now that he'll get the majority of the carries, Alex, in Clemson, I would definitely say that I think Phil Maffa is stock up. Ollie Gordon II out of Oklahoma State. Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State. Omarion Hampton, North Carolina Tar Heels. Jaden Ott from California. And Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. Of those running backs, let us know where you stand, stock up or stock down. I don't see a ton there that jumps off the page to me. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not saying all the talent's left college football by any means. I just don't see a running back there that's going to be, the Doak Campbell Award winner that we remember for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do think that Hampton out of North Carolina probably out of those 5 that you just named, I've got 2 that I'm going stock up. I'm going Judkins and at Ohio State. Yeah. I'm going Hampton at North Carolina.
I'm interested to see what ETN does at Georgia. And Madcraft, you stole the words out of my mouth there, because I had him as a guy, even though he's getting into a little bit of trouble already before the season starts. I did have him as a guy that I thought would be stock up. What he was at Florida, will that translate to what he is at Georgia? I'm not sure it will, but I do think he'll be a really good back for Georgia. I'm not saying he'll be a Nick Chubb, but I do think ETN could do well at Georgia. Texter says, I'm saying better than last year, talking about Travis Hunter, since he plays successful both ways. I think stock goes up. You know what? That's a good point, Texter, since he does play both ways. But at the same time, since he does play both ways, is that going to hurt him? Is that going to hurt him down the stretch? Is that going to hurt him as the season gets long and as he gets long in the tooth, as the season gets to the midway point and we get into October, November, is he still going to be as impactful of a player, talking about Travis Hunter, as the texter pointed out? But the list that everybody wants to look at, Alex, and our listeners, the quarterbacks in 2024. Here's where it gets interesting. Carson Beck out of Georgia, Dylan Gabriel of Oregon, Jalen Milroe, Alabama, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado, Quinn Ewers, in Texas. What's interesting is, on this list is not a Cade Klubnik. I did not say Cade Klubnik's name. I did not say Lenore Sellers' name, but I will add them to the list for the purpose of this conversation. So of the top quarterbacks, of the ones that we talk about, of the ones that we cover, where do you stand on the quarterbacks in 2024? I do think that the most interesting one to me, Alex, that jumps off the page is Quinn Ewers at Texas, who I did not think would come back in 2024. But Quinn Ewers had a really good year. And I thought that his draft stock would be good enough to go pro. I do think that Quinn Ewers is stock up. I think Sarkisian has a system in place and a culture in place now that he's been there for a few years at Texas to get this program over the hump. I'm not saying it's going to be a national championship, but I do think with Quinn Ewers coming back, a veteran quarterback, I do think Texas has to look at this season as we've got to make a run to the national title. We've got to be in the hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Texas isn't in the hunt this year,
it's a failure.
100%. And out of those, honestly, I think Jalen Milroe is probably stocked down this year.
Oh, I think so.
I personally, I do. I mean, call me whatever you want to call me.
Alabama hater, is that what you want me to call you?
Maybe so, but I think there's a lot. I mean, you got a new coach. There's just a lot going on with that program right now. And so I think Jalen Milroe is probably going to be a stock down. I'm glad you added in Klubnik and Sellers, though, because those two guys are two guys that I see stock rising this year.
Really? Both of them?
Yes.
Okay. I like it. Texter says stock up on Texas and Bama quarterbacks. Mad says he might be stock up, talking about Ewers, but Texas is about to run buzzsaw in the SEC. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if I completely agree with that. Texas, I'm not saying they're not good enough to run buzzsaw, Mad, but I'm just saying they're about to find out, right? You go into the SEC, you're about to find out how good you really are. Jalen Milroe, he is interesting. Dylan Gabriel following in some really big footsteps at Oregon. Carson Beck, Georgia. Carson Beck, it seems like for whatever reason, and I don't want this to sound like I'm hating on Georgia quarterbacks, but it seems like for whatever reason the last few years, Kirby's been able to do what Kirby's done with what we would call former Alabama quarterbacks. I don't want to use the word or the term game manager because that does make some people upset. But let's be honest. Stetson Bennett, do you see him anywhere playing lights out in the NFL right now? Do you expect Carson Beck to be playing in the NFL? No, we don't. We don't expect Stetson to be an NFL quarterback, but guess what? Georgia won with Stetson. Georgia will win with Carson Beck. Nick Saban won a lot of championships with quarterbacks that aren't in the NFL. Texter says, hard for Klubnik stock to go down after a 4-4 AC record. Let's see what the rest of that text says. Coming man. I don't know what that means from that texter. Stock up or stock down, texter? 809. Klubnik, you going stock up? Is that what you're saying? I would say, I would agree that Klubnik stock should go up. And a lot of that, texture, I'm going to agree with you. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he didn't have a great year last year, right? He didn't have a fantastic season in 2023. So you would hope, especially as a Clemson fan, that stock can only go up. I'm not saying he can't be any worse, but he didn't have the best year. One texter says Sellers' stock goes up, not because it's a Heisman season, of course, but he shows arm talent and legs, so it fuels the fire for next year. You know what? I just don't know. When you talk about a quarterback stock going up, you have to put a lot of things. You have to consider a lot of things. When you talk about a quarterback stock going up, you have to consider his offensive line, his weapons, his receivers, his run game, how good his team's going to be, how good his defense is going to be. And as much as I like Sellers, as much as I like Lenore Sellers, I think he's going to be a good quarterback. It's hard for me to say stock up for Sellers because I know that South Carolina's offensive line Will it be improved? Yeah, I think it will, because it can't be any worse than it was last year. Will the run game be the best? I don't think so. The receivers, the jury's still out on the receiver room. They got a couple of transfers in. I like Sellers. I really do. I think he's going to be a much improved quarterback, not saying from Rattler, but Sellers has things in his repertoire and in his game that Rattler didn't have. I think Sellers will surprise a lot of people with his legs. We'll see how long that lasts. Once defense start adjusting, we'll see how long that lasts. I like Sellers. I'm just not sold on Sellers' stock going up quite yet. And again, I may be wrong. Give me a few games against SEC teams to really get an opinion on whether Sellers' stock should go up or down. But again, when you're playing in the SEC, you've got to have a good team around you at quarterback. You may be a good quarterback. I'm not saying Sellers isn't. I'm just saying he has to have a team around him in order for his stock to go up. He's got to have good weapons. Texter says Ewers has an SEC schedule now and Arch Manning breathing down his neck after every bad throw. Should have went pro even in a deep quarterback draft. Stock down, says this texter from the 419. You know what, texter? I gave our audience many compliments yesterday on our text and phone calls that we got, because we had some strong opinions and strong takes, some really good phone calls. And I'm going to give you, texter from the 419, the best text of the day so far. The best text of the day so far goes to you from the 419 about Ewers. I like the take. Stock down in Ewers. But with Arch Manning breathing down his neck, it's a very good point. And with an SEC schedule, you do have to consider that, right? You do have to consider that Ewers is playing in the SEC now for the very first time. And maybe he should have gone pro. I still think Ewers is a really good quarterback. I still think Ewers can lead Texas to where they need to go. However, Texter, to your point, I'll say this before we hit a break. Ewers should have done it last year. Quinn Ewers should have gotten his team to the promised land last year with Jonathan Brooks at running back. And guess what they didn't do last year? They didn't play in the SEC last year, right? So if he was going to make a run, if he was going to prove himself, if he was going to get Texas over the hump and get Texas to being back, last year, in my opinion, would be the year that he should have done it. SEC, we'll see. I guess you have to say the jury's still out. Even though he's had a great year, I'm just one that believes the SEC playing week in and week out, it makes a difference. It really does. So hats off to you, texter, from the 419. Best text of the day on the first segment so far. You're getting the crown for now. Let's see if someone can steal that crown. Very good take from the 419. You can text the show, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Also, get in on the stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're up to 40 viewers right now. Let's get to 100 before too long. And be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. All right, coming up next. Alex, this is entertaining. There was a Mets fan removed from a baseball game last night. Usually when you get removed from a sporting event, you've done something pretty atrocious, right? You've done something that banners you from getting ejected. Do you think this fan, even though he's a Mets fan, so not a lot of Braves fans will already have the dogs on them. No pun intended there on the word dogs. But you'll find out what I mean. Coming up next, Alex Guest sitting in today. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Is a win, whether it's on the real field of competition or over your 9-year-old in the driveway. Celebrate, you magnificent beast.
You're going wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Take control of your listening experience with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Missed a jaw-dropping moment? No worries.
The Odyssey app makes it easy.
Sorry, I had to turn your
You
camera a
can
little bit there,
relive
Alex.
big moments
You were
from
barely
Rob
in
Brown,
the shot.
Jim Rome, and more.
Cole, you were kind of like
Just hit
side.
Rewind with the
That's why I
Odyssey
zoomed,
app
turned
on
just a
the
little bit.
upstate.
I tend to float around too.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD
You
Weather
hear this thing
Center,
about the
here's the
Mets, Cole?
Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the
It's a
Fan
Mets fan. Come on
Upstate.
now.
Few spotty showers and storms at times this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops, high around 84. Tonight, chance for rain and storms, low 64. Saturday,
All right,
chance
Alex,
for storms, high
biggest
77.
winner of the
Sunday,
draft
chance
and
for
biggest
storms,
loser of the
81.
draft.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer
I wanna hear this.
Vucci on the Fan Upstate.
Who do you think was the biggest winner of the
Currently,
first
it's
round
75.
then?
Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Can we please
I said the Buffalo
stop
Bills won
using the
because
word
of
committed?
Keon
in
from
college
FSU.
athletics?
You see his
is it
video?
time? Can we quit?
He was
If I
like
see one more tweet
all
from someone
excited
that says,
about
"I
where
have
he was,
committed,"
and
I'm
they
going
showed him
to
the choir room.
automatically
And he
block
acted like
him.
he's
You're
like,
not
well, I need to be
committed.
the Undertaker.
You're going
Come on
to
out like the
jump ship
Undertaker and get the mask
eventually. Let's
on.
be real.
That's pretty good video.
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
And then he,
Levon,
I think the loser of the draft,
3-7 on the
truthfully,
Fan
and I hate to say
Upstate.
this, well, the first one, I think it's the Falcons because of Penix Jr.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200.
Did you see what the NFL Network gave him as a rating, though?
Provider. Speak with
They said that they think he was like
Big Lou
a
will
third,
find a term life
if not the
policy for
second
you,
best
even if
quarterback.
You have type 2 diabetes,
And
are
they compared
overweight,
him
or
to
have
Joe
high
Flacco.
blood pressure. Term providers help thousands
Because
of people like
have
you
you
think they
ever?
can't
I don't know
afford
about that,
term life
Matt.
insurance.
If
To
you
buy
look
$1
at
million of
how
affordable
he,
term life
if
for
you watch
you, all
Penix's
you need to do
videos,
is call Big
he goes
Lou,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He goes within the 3 to 4 second range. He gets all of his progressions so fast. You don't see that with quarterbacks nowadays. And I'm rather impressed with him. And then to hear that Las Vegas, New Orleans, Denver, all were trying to move up to take him. It's pretty interesting too.
Or biglou.com.
At
He's a diehard
Progressive, we know money
He's a
can't buy
diehard
happiness,
Chargers fan.
But money did buy your boat.
You know that's a
where you
Chargers
find
fan right
peace
there.
Fishing, unlike at home with 3 teenage
Yes,
daughters.
Matt Kraft,
Because
we are
fish
heckling
never
you.
argue about who stole whose crop top, or get mad the other fish used
Cole
up
already
all
said who
hot
the winner
water.
was yesterday.
No, they just
The
swim
winner of the
around,
draft.
never embarrassed
Didn't
to
you?
be seen with you in public. So save money by bundling your boat or RV insurance with home or
I
auto
don't.
from
I
Progressive,
think they had a very good
and
draft.
buy
think they had a
more
better
happiness,
draft.
or something close to it.
The team that I feel so I was telling somebody, the team that I feel so bad for, the Rams. They've had like 6 picks in 3 years. Come on now.
That's their own fault.
Yeah, that is true. But that's still pretty sad.
patios, walkways, and gardens. Right now,
Masterclass.
your potting soil just $8.97
Brandon just
for
hating.
strong,
Yeah.
healthy, vibrant plants, indoors and outside.
And how'd
Shop
that
our
Eli
website
Manning
and
draft go
online
for
and
you,
pick up your
Matt?
Order in store and give mom the gift of a beautiful
See
garden.
if he says
Get Big
something.
Row potting soil just $8.97 at the Home Depot.
Hey, did they
Our
fix
dealers
this
get
computer?
more
Because everything's
done.
working
See
better now, Cole.
HomeDepot.com/delivery for details.
Get ready for the
Because I was having
Marcus
trouble
King Band
with,
family reunion, starring Marcus King Band, the Avett Brothers, Band of Horses, and Sierra Farrell, Nikki Lane, Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners, and a special jam with Marcus King and
Yeah, everything was
friends,
on.
Saturday and Sunday, August 24th and 25th, CCNB Amphitheater, Simpsonville. Tickets, VIP, and travel packages on sale now at MarcusKingFamilyReunion.com. The Marcus King Band Family Reunion.
Fly nonstop to Los Angeles
Here we go.
from GSP International Airport on Breeze Airways. Breeze Airways now offers nonstop flights and low fares to Los Angeles, California from GSP International Airport. Book your trip from GSP today at flybreeze.com. That's flybreeze.com.
Text us at 71307. Keyword fan. This is Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel on the Fan.
You know, I've never been kicked out of a sporting event.
I came close.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where at? Are you allowed to say?
There's a certain high school over there in Duncan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean high school. I didn't think you would be dumb enough to get kicked out of a high school game. But it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me one bit. College game, a collegiate game, or a pro game. The only game that I've gotten close to being kicked out of was a Texas Rangers game. When I lived in Texas, Alex, we were at a game. It was our own fault because it was a group of like 8 of us. So it's hard for 8 people to be kind of discreet doing something. But we were sitting up high, and we said, I don't even remember who they were playing. I think they were playing the Angels or something. But it got in the 4th or 5th inning, and so we're going to go down and sit as close as we can get, right? As most fans do. So we went to the lower deck, and not only did we go to the lower deck at the Rangers ballpark, Alex, we went all the way down to the very, very lowest of low seats, bottom row, right behind home plate, and all 8 of us sat down. So, if it was 1 or 2 guys, we probably would have got away with it. But when 8 people do it, it's pretty hard to be, discreet about it. We did try our best to talk our way into staying. So again, very, very light in terms of criminal offense of what we did there.
Did all 8 of you go at once?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah. That's pretty messed up.
I've never been kicked out, but this guy last night got kicked out of a New York Mets game. And I just do not think the guy had any right of getting kicked out of the game. So you ask the question, you the listener, you're asking, okay, Cole, what did he do to get kicked out? Are you going to tell us what he did to get kicked out? Yes. I will tell you what he did to get kicked out. Brandon, cut 1. This is what the scene, the fans sounded like. And you can play it pretty low while I'm talking because it's just a bunch of boos. This is what it sounded like when this fan was removed. You can hear the entire section booing. Again, this is not some crafted
That's
boos.
stock audio.
No, it's not stock audio. This is real live audio from the Mets game last night. Everyone in the section, it does sound like stock crafted boos. I get your point. But it's real boos. So the Mets fan was removed from $1 hot dog night after fans started throwing wieners at this certain fan. And that was the audio from the scene, from the section. So, again, this guy, the reason he got kicked out, he ate so many hot dogs that they kicked him out of $1 hot dog night. And what is unbelievable is that you can get kicked out for purchasing too much of a product. I just saw on Twitter the other day.
Was his name Joey Chestnut?
His name was not Joey Chestnut. He was not breaking world records.
How petty do you have to be, though, to kick someone out for eating too many hot dogs?
New York Mets. Brandon, I guess the Mets don't
that is the Mets.
I guess they don't like people buying their product. So he ate so many hot dogs that he had on a white T-shirt. He started tallying his count of hot dogs on his T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
A true American, right? A true American hero started tallying those hot dogs that he ate. Well, the fans became enthused with it. They became amused. They became very amused as the fans said, okay, now we're going to buy $1 hot dogs and we're going to throw and give this man more $1 hot dogs. So I guess the Mets are so bad at baseball that the fans care more about $1 hot dog night and making sure that this one true American hero gets all of the hot dogs that he wants.
It looks like his shirt says 18 hot dogs.
I think it was, Brandon. I think at one point it did get up to over 18 hot dogs. There was a picture after the game of him on the train, on the subway in New York, with his total tally of hot dogs and beers consumed. And that is in 2024. That is why we are kicking people out of games. So this guy was just all about $1 hot dog night. He totally embraced it, as every fan, every American who loves hot dogs should do, right? What's wrong with $1 hot dogs? What's wrong with buying too many hot dogs? Madcraft on the stream says, you sure they just weren't booing the Mets? Well, it's a good point.
Could have been.
They could have been. Very well could have been booing the Mets.
But if you look at the video, you can see the fans are booing the police and security, and they're saying, let him stay.
Let him stay. And they did not let him stay. The fans embraced it. It was the 9th inning is what makes this so bad. They kicked him out in the 9th inning. Like, what are we doing to where we let a guy stay in the game, which he should have been in the game. He was buying hot dogs. Yeah, the fans were throwing hot dogs, wanting to, increase the tally. He had on a plain white T-shirt where he was keeping tally marks of the hot dogs he ate. And security waits till the 9th freaking inning of a ball game to say, hey, let's toss this guy. Let's toss the guy who loves to eat hot dogs. The cops had to toss him out of the game. He wasn't thrown out for having a good time. He was thrown out because he was consuming too many hot dogs and it became a spectacle.
I wonder if the same thing would happen over at Floorfield.
Maybe so.
What about at
Maybe
Miami
so.
Marlins? They have those all-you-can-eat seats. Could you imagine getting all-you-can-eat food and being thrown out because you ate too much of their food?
Well, I just think that it's interesting that we're trying to endorse $1 hot dog night, and the fans started chanting, "Let him eat." So that's where we are in the world. That's where we are in society and in pro sports. That fans who eat too many of your $1 hot dogs become, I guess, Alex, it became like, this guy's getting too much attention,
It's taking away attention from the Mets.
Taking away attention from the Mets. Well, guess whose fault that is? That's probably the Mets' fault for not being a good baseball franchise, right? But the Mets ended up winning over the Cubs last night in 11 innings, 7-6. But I say, kudos to this guy. Kudos to the hot dog eating champion, not Joey Chestnut, as Alex pointed out, but kudos to this guy for doing what was allowed. He ate hot dogs and he didn't spend a lot of money. Over 18 hot dogs he ate. Maybe the alcoholic beverages helped wash them down. I can't imagine that felt good going home after you ate that many hot dogs. But this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in. Coming up next, we have Daily Wires. A lot of breaking news. As I said right before we went on the air, there was a good bit of news that came out. It is now in our Daily Wires. You may call them headlines. We call them Daily Wires. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
If you work a 9 to 5, you think you know better than career coaches making 100 times your salary.
next weekend and join us out there. We won't be on the air, so we'll have some time to chat with you and meet you if we have not done so yet. We would love to meet you next weekend. That's May 11th, as we will be in Spartanburg as they reveal the new name of the Spartanburg baseball team. A little bit of breaking news just before we went on the radio today, Alex. The Lakers have fired their head coach. Darvin Ham is out in L.A. Any surprise there?
90 wins over 2 seasons.
Ooh. Ooh.
No.
Michael Duarte yesterday, who came on the show, when I asked him, what do the Lakers do from here? That was the first thing he said.
Yeah.
He said, you got to move on. And I give credit to Michael because he was dead on that one. He covers the Lakers, Rams, and Dodgers for the NBCLA. And he was on yesterday talking Braves and Dodgers. If you missed that, you can go back anytime on the Rewind feature on the Odyssey app and catch that interview. Very good interview with Michael. 2 more pieces of breaking news. The Dolphins are set to sign OBJ to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. Odell Beckham Jr., probably, Alex, you would say that he's toward the end of his career. I don't know if retirement is in his near future. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but he's definitely not the player that he used to be. However, still a good receiver. I would say this. When you're talking about OBJ, a team that almost made it to the Super Bowl last year in the Ravens, obviously hurts them, but helps Tua, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you give yourself another receiver threat. I mean, like you said, OBJ probably on the back end of his career.
Probably so.
Definitely on the back end of his career. I'll go ahead and say that. But regardless, it's another marquee name receiver that the Dolphins have now. That
with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's going to help Tua, and it's going to help him spread the ball out.
Well, even if OBJ's not at the peak of his career, even if OBJ's not the same receiver that he once was, him being on the field should, as you said, help keep defenses honest in terms of now they have to account for OBJ. Maybe that will allow Tyreek Hill to be even more open, which is scary because he gets open as it is now in a tremendous way. But look, I don't hate it. I don't hate it for Miami.
I mean, through everything last year, 14 games, 35 receptions, he averaged 16 yards per catch still.
It's pretty good. Long as he doesn't – he is a little injury prone. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I like the move for Miami. I really do. I think that helps them tremendously. I really do. And then lastly, one piece of breaking news that is just fascinating, man. Just fascinating. Michael Irvin is out. O-U-T at the NFL Network. So Michael's stint at ESPN, Alex, didn't really last as long as we thought. You know, he had the incident at that hotel with a lady who had accused him of certain things. ESPN kind of backed off of their Michael Irvin coverage. And now all of a sudden, I haven't heard why yet, but now Michael Irvin is out at NFL Network. And that just really, man, it just asks the question. It makes you think, Alex, is Michael Irvin, are his days on TV coming to an end? Because his contract won't be renewed at NFL Network. I don't think ESPN probably wants him back. You know, he did the Game Day Morning thing, the Game Day Morning show on NFL Network since 2009. So he's been there a long time with NFL Network. And, he was sent home from the NFL Network's 2023 Super Bowl coverage after he was accused, like I said, in the Phoenix hotel with the woman that, where he denied all wrongdoing. And it's interesting. Michael Irvin's a personality, in my opinion, that TV needs.
Right.
They need somebody. Every network needs a Michael Irvin. They need somebody that can be not only knowledgeable, but also can be as energetic and funny as Michael Irvin is. So that is huge news to me. I mean, that just obviously being a Cowboys fan, I'll always have a love for Michael. Again, we never really heard whether he was guilty of what the accuser said at that hotel that night. I know that's kind of a iffy situation, and Michael denied, all involvement there. But you have to ask the question, are his days at the TV network, are they coming to a close? I think somebody will pick Michael up. I really do. All right, coming up next, go ahead and start sending in, you the listener, you the Tolos, what your favorite NFL team is. Who your favorite NFL team is, because we're going to do something next. We did this earlier in the week, Diesel and I did, with college teams. But coming up next, I'm going to tell you what Vegas has set for your favorite NFL team, total over-under wins. 71307 on the text line. Also, let us know on the stream who your favorite NFL team is. Who is your diehard team, and who do you pull for? We'll find out how many games Vegas has them winning next.
Breaking news. We break the mold.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan.
Upstate.
BetMGM Tonight is the red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more with real-time, relevant sports wagertainment. Tonight at 7. BetMGM Tonight.
Dude, what's up with our
Upstate.
And on the Odyssey app.
Hey, it's Rob Brown. Listen, watching sports just got even better with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. It is the most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players, and it is so easy to do. You pick between 2 to 6 players, pick more or less on their stat projections for the night, and win. You're not playing against other people. You're not up against some sharks in Vegas. It's just you, your knowledge of the game versus the numbers. You've got a chance to win up to $1
Official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan. An Odyssey Sports Station.
You ready? Let's go.
It's alive! Alive in the left center field.
From the fields to the courts, and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire.
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
On the Fan Upstate.
In 2024, this fall, listen, my dream for you, our listener, our Tolo, my dream is for you to have the best season that you've ever had when it comes to pulling for your favorite team. Your favorite NFL team. I want you just to have the absolute best season you have ever had, okay?
Thank you.
I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be thrilled, feel like they have a chance, feel like they have hope for their team to go to the Super Bowl. I don't wish, bad karma or bad juju on anyone except for the Philadelphia Eagles. I really don't. So, as I said coming into this very segment, send me who you pull for. Let us know what the Upstate looks like. We know there's a lot of Panthers fans out there, but we also know that there is a good variety of fandom in the Upstate. Who do you pull for? Who is your team in the NFL? And when I find your team, when you tell me who you pull for, I will tell you what Vegas thinks when it comes to how many wins your team will have in 2024. Already getting some text in on the text line. You can text the show 71307. Please start your text with the word fan, and we will see what you have to say. We will see who your favorite team is. Also on the stream, let us know who you pull for. We're up to 61 viewers right now. Let's get that to 100 before we get to 5 o'clock. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Alex, I'll start with you. Who does Alex Guest pull for in the NFL? If you say the Carolina Panthers, I'm going to put you at the bottom of the list because obviously we have a lot of Panthers fans. Is that who you're going to say?
Well, let's go Pittsburgh.
Oh, you a Pittsburgh guy?
No, I'm a Panthers fan, but you were going to put me at the bottom of the list. So I mean,
I was going to say I don't remember you ever being a Pittsburgh fan.
My wife is a Pittsburgh fan.
Is she
so
really?
let's go Pittsburgh.
All right, we'll go Pittsburgh for your wife's sake. You know what? That's one thing that I will point out as I'm pulling Pittsburgh up. I could be wrong, but I don't see near as many Pittsburgh fans here in the Upstate as I used to.
Yeah.
I just don't. I know that it's been a while since they've had success, but I remember when they went to the Super Bowl, which feels like forever ago, I really do feel like there was a heavy presence of Pittsburgh fans in the Upstate. I just haven't seen – are Pittsburgh fans in the Upstate, are they fair weather fans? Because I haven't seen many people in Pittsburgh gear lately. I haven't seen the Pittsburgh gear being repped. So we'll go Pittsburgh Steelers for Alex's sake, since his wife does pull for the Steelers. Obviously, you like the Panthers, Alex, and that, I would assume, will be the most texted in team. You would guess, right?
Probably so, yeah.
Being here in the Upstate. So I'm trying to find the Steelers. Do the Steelers even, are they going to play in 2024? Do they have a team this year? There's Buffalo, Miami, New York, New England, and last, Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. Las Vegas is telling you if you are a Pittsburgh Steelers fan in 2024, Las Vegas has set the total over-under total wins at 8.5. Any surprise there?
No, not at all.
They win 10 games last year. I think they won 10 games, if I'm not mistaken. Without looking, I'm pretty sure they won 10 games last year. So Vegas has, if you're a Steelers fan, Vegas has this set, has it set around 8.5. So that might, you might win 8, you might win 9. That's what Vegas projects. They did go over last year. Their home games this year are the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Giants, and Jets. Their road games are Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Falcons, Broncos, Colts, Raiders, Eagles, and Commanders.
Cole, yes, they won 10. They went 10 and 7.
Right?
Yeah, they were 10 and 7.
I thought they did. So they went 10 and 7, hit the over last year. We know that Mike Tomlin always overachieves. We know that Mike Tomlin always has his team overachieving. So if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you win 10 games again in 2024. I've got to be sold before I can say you're going to win 10 games again. I've got to be sold at the quarterback position. I really do. I've got to see what Pittsburgh does.
Who are they going to start?
Well, they've got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And again.
But Justin Fields is going to be their returner, remember?
As long as Russell's healthy, right?
Yeah. Well, and I have to interject with this one. I wouldn't even give the Steelers 8.5 because they have Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. And for those who remember, Arthur Smith went 3 straight years at 7 and 10 as the Falcons.
So you don't think they win 8?
I say they win 5.
Ooh,
wow.
Ooh, Brandon says 5. I'm not the biggest Russell Wilson fan. I'll put it on the record. I don't love Russell Wilson, okay? I really don't. However, I think they're getting close to 8. I could see them winning 9. Again, their schedule, I don't see them beating Baltimore. I don't see them beating Cincinnati. I'll say they get a win over the Browns, just spitballing here. I'll say they get a win over the Giants, the Jets, I already said the Browns again, because that's a division team. Atlanta's a coin flip. I don't know that they beat Atlanta. The Broncos, maybe. The Colts. I don't know. Commanders.
I think it's
I'm at
easier
6-7. I'm at 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that, and I think it's easier for me to say who they would lose to than it is to. I mean,
could be.
I think they lose to the Ravens, the Bengals, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers. I mean, who knows about the
and a couple of those are division games, so they might lose twice.
I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. The Giants, Jets, I think they beat. Falcons going to be a coin flip for me. Broncos, I think they beat them, but then from there, it's Colts, Raiders.
Rob
Eagles,
chimed in on the stream.
Commanders. I mean, I don't know.
I do agree with what the texter said, and this is why I would probably go over 8.5. Whether you like Mike Tomlin or not, the texter from the 993 says Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
You can't argue that.
Rob Brown on the chat says nothing in Denver was Russell Wilson's fault. Dude statistically was having a very solid season. The Steelers are winning 9, maybe 10, but they're not letting Tomlin's winning season streak end. I agree, Rob. I think 9. I really think 9 wins is what I'm comfortable with. I could see them win a 9, but I do not see them winning more than 9. All right, let's get off the Steelers. Text line, we've gotten a ton of text in. I've got to scroll down just to find the first one. Texter says, Ryan, this is from Ryan Go Blue. He says his favorite team is the Detroit Motor City Lions. What does Vegas say? What does Vegas have the Detroit Lions doing in 2024? Do you want to guess? You want to take a wild guess at this one?
I'm going to go.
How many games? You got to include the half a point or the half a game.
I'm going to go 11.5.
Ooh, it's close. 10.5.
Okay.
So Vegas has Detroit, Ryan, for you, the Detroit fan, and the other Detroit fans in the upstate. Vegas has the Lions at 10.5. You know, I'm not against the Detroit Lions. I don't have any beef with Detroit. I do think they will take a little bit of a step back.
Really? You think they're going to regress from a 12-win season?
Regress. Yeah, I think they'll regress. I'm not saying a lot. I don't think it's going to be a lot. But I do think they will regress a little bit. So I would go right at 10, maybe 11 wins. It wouldn't surprise me
I say they do another 12-win season.
Think so? Another
Maybe
12?
maybe go 13-4.
It wouldn't surprise me to see them win 10 this year.
Divisions: Bears, Packers, Vikings.
Packers are going to be good. Vikings are going to be a lot better. Vikings, I think, had one of the best drafts of anyone. I really do. I love what Minnesota did in the draft. I'm not saying they're there yet. I'm just saying I love what Minnesota did. And the Bears, jury's out, right? We'll see. Green Bay, I'm sold on Green Bay. I'm sold on Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's the guy. I love what I saw from Jordan Love in the playoffs last year, especially in the second half of the season. All right, so that's the Lions. Panthers obviously are getting a lot of text in, and we will get to the Panthers. CJ from Greer says, man, I'm a Falcons fan since 1980.
Good man there.
There you go, Brandon. Brandon, Falcon fan.
I'm a Dirty Bird since 1992.
It's a long time. All right, Brandon, since you're a Falcons fan, guess what Vegas has set for the over-under total wins for 2024?
I would say 9.5.
You would be right. 9.5 wins for the Atlanta Falcons. That is where Vegas weighs in. 9 months. They won, what, 7 last year? Is that right?
Yeah, 3 years in a row, 7-10. I say that Atlanta wins 11 games this year.
Well, what you do is you have an upgrade at quarterback. And even if you don't have the best quarterback in the league, having stability at the position will definitely help Atlanta in 2024. Having not only stability, but having someone who's experienced, whether you like Cousins or not. Cousins will be a good enough quarterback, in my opinion, to win 9 or 10 games. I go over.
Well, the scheme that Atlanta finally, Arthur Smith was the 1990s Madden 09 kind of coach action there. So he always relied on the run. He wouldn't utilize his weapons. Well, in comes the new regime for the Atlanta Falcons. You have Kyle Pitts. You have Drake London. You have Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson. I think they're going to utilize the weapons that we have as a team, and that's why I say Atlanta wins 11.
It's a lot. 11's a lot. I'll be honest. I think they hit over. I don't know if they win 11, but I think they do hit the over. All right, on the text line, 71307, start your text with the word fan. We're getting a ton of text in on who people in the upstate pull for. I love seeing the diversity, by the way. I really do. Marv weighs in. What's up, Marvy Marv? Marvy Marv says, I am a Commanders fan. Well, Marvy Marv, your team stole my defensive coordinator. Not really happy with you. Not really happy with your team.
Oh, you poor guy.
I'm always going to be, as long as I pull for Dallas. But Vegas, Marvy Marv, has your team total over-under set at 6.5 wins in 2024. First-year coaching Dan Quinn. New quarterback, who, by the way, I think it's a very good quarterback. I really do. I like what Washington did in the draft. I think they had a little bit of an underrated draft, if you will. I just think that there still has to be some time for Washington to improve. I just don't think that Washington takes the leap in year one to get them over the hump, okay? Dan Quinn, for as much as flack as people want to give him, he's a good head coach, okay? He is. He is a good coach. He's a defensive-minded guy. What's Washington always had? Washington's always had a good defense. Even the last few years when they've sucked, they've had a very good defense. Their front four is nasty. How many Alabama guys play for Washington? They have a stacked defense. They'll be better. They'll be better with Daniels and Quinn, but I don't think it happens in year one. Okay? I think it's going to take Marvy Marv. I hope it takes a long time because you're in the same division as my team. I hope it takes 100 years. I think you guys get better. I just don't think it happens in year one. Sherb weighs in on the text line from the 709. Sherb says, I am a Packers fan. Well, Sherb, I don't like the Packers, but I do like your quarterback. I really do like Jordan Love. Man, I tell you this. Sherb, there are a lot of Packers fans who are having to eat their crow. Because when they drafted Jordan Love, all it was negative, negative, negative. Nancy was in the house. Negative Nancy, she was here. Because, admit it, Sherb, you guys weren't sold on Jordan Love. But, man, has he not been impressive so far. Vegas has the Green Bay Packers total wins set at 10.5. 10.5 wins. Too many or just about right?
No, I think that's about right. I mean, they won 10 games last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think they're going to get right at 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, the division I think is going to be better. I do think the division is going to be better. No, Chicago's not going to be there in year one, but I think it's going to be better. Even though Green Bay owns Chicago, I think they're going to be better.
I think Detroit runs away with that division real fast.
Really?
I think it's Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, and
you
then
think they run away with it?
Yeah, I think
no love for Green Bay.
Well, he has Detroit with 13 wins.
Yeah, Detroit with 13 wins. I say Green Bay does get 10. I think Minnesota gets like 7.
Ooh.
But I think Chicago gets 3.
Who wins in the opening weekend though? Green Bay Philadelphia game in Brazil.
Philadelphia.
Brazil.
I'm good. Well, Brazil does hand it in. Yes.
Brazil wins. Yes. I'm going Brazil. All right. There are a ton of text to get to. What I will do is I will cut this segment off, but I will extend the segment to later in the show. We will come back to this because there were a lot of texts that I did not get to, a lot of teams that were spoken for that I did not have time to read off and give an opinion on. So we'll get back to that. We have to hit a break because coming up next, we will talk to Shane Connick. Shane's our weekly Friday guy. He's the best when it comes to covering NASCAR. We'll talk to Shane up next.
Cool. I added a minute because I have to run to the restroom.
Strong, or you can ride the pine.
We're going wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Take control of your listening experience with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Missed a jaw-dropping moment? No worries.
The Odyssey app makes it easy.
With Rewind, you can relive big moments from Rob Brown, Jim Rome, and more. Don't miss a beat. Just hit Rewind with the Odyssey app on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Upstate's most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Cloudy skies tonight with scattered showers and thunderstorms, a low of 63 degrees. Showers and storms Saturday with a high of 77. Chance of storms Sunday as well with a high of 81. Monday, showers and thunderstorms again with a high temperature of 80. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller on the Fan Upstate. Right now, it's 76.
Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
There's a new feature with iPhones and iOS 17 called Personal Voice. You have to record in a whole bunch of phrases, and then it creates a voice print, an AI version of your voice. And we thought, what would be more fun than creating versions of our voices and then making the other person say things that they would never actually say on the radio.
All right, here's Diesel. You ready, Diesel?
Brad Brownell is the best coach ever. He deserves a lifetime contract, and I will never talk bad about Big Bad Brad again.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Okay, so here's the next thing that Cole Bryson would never say on the radio.
If Jerry Jones can't win the Super Bowl this year, I'll give up and become an Eagles fan.
Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Turn on, leave on. Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
Pre-spring in South Carolina means using the AC during the day and the heater at night. When your HVAC unit stops working, you need a company you can trust. Priority Heating and Air HVAC Specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family or business comfortable and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or find them online, PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Priority Heating and Air.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Your morning jolt of sports. It's the Rob Brown Show.
Inevitably, what happens?
I am not going to. I'm not going to sink to your level of negativity. You've defeated them every single time. You're going to do it again.
I will wade through the ocean of negativity on my own. I will brave the treacherous waters of pessimism like the captain that I am.
Weigh anchor and hoist the mizzen.
These are seas that you've sailed many times, so it isn't like it's unfamiliar waters.
Sailed them. I live on them. They are me. I am them. Oh. Every time there's this
Good, we got you on in about 45
seconds. Beat the Kings every time they play. Walk the plank. Until the playoffs. It's inevitable.
Son of a
17 seconds.
Don't hit snooze.
17 seconds.
Now, morning 6 to 10.
Shane's on the phone too.
Upstate.
It's Bo time. Get 2 sausage Bo-Berry biscuits for $5 at Bojangles for a limited time.
It's Bo time. The sausage Bo-Berry biscuit isn't just a menu hack anymore. So come try a made-from-scratch Bo-Berry biscuit topped with sizzling sausage. Because it's about time sweet meets savory. For a limited time, get 2 for just $5 at Bojangles. It's Bo time.
Text 71307. Keyword fan.
And connect with Diesel and Cole Bryson on Wire to Wire. This is the Fan Upstate.
I am Cole Bryson, and this is Wire to Wire. Glad to have you along with us. Diesel will be back on Monday. A little brief vacay for Diesel, and he'll be back on Monday. Excited to have him back. He did make an interesting pit stop today. And I'm not going to spoil the news, but if you follow on Twitter, you will see where Diesel made a pit stop at today, and he will talk about that pit stop that he made on his way back next week on the program. Very, very entertaining. Want to bring in now our weekly Friday guy. He is Shane Connick. You can follow him on Twitter at Shane_Connick. That's CONNUCK. Shane, what's up, man? How are you?
Cole, I'm doing great. What has happened?
Glad to talk to you. I love talking every Friday to you to get your thoughts on what happened in the past race as well as look at this Sunday. But before we get to this week, Shane, your thoughts on Dover. I thought it was an interesting race. I watching and following along, it seems as if as a NASCAR fan, they can – the casual NASCAR fan can get involved and become, I don't want to say a Dover fan. They can become a fan of the Dover track itself. But Dover, to me, runs a little bit like Bristol. And I know everybody loves Bristol. So in your opinion, what were your thoughts on the race Sunday as well as your thoughts on my comparison with Dover and Bristol?
It was another good race on Sunday, and it was not the craziest of races, but anytime you're going to get Denny Hamlin in victory lane, you know it's going to be a good one. But the Monster Mile, like you were saying about Delaware, it's a unique track, and obviously, first off, just the part of the country that it's in. You don't have many races in the Northeast other than Pocono in Pennsylvania and then Loudon up in New Hampshire. So that race really brings a lot of people out to, probably their only race of the year. And so that alone always, and this year was a particularly good Dover crowd, it felt like. And that really adds to just the whole juice of the day, especially on Sunday. And that was something they were talking about all weekend, that it felt like the best Dover crowd in recent years. Then beyond the crowd and all that stuff, it's just one of the fastest tracks. And I think that that's why you make a great comparison with Bristol, because yes, they're different sizes. Bristol's a particularly short track. And then the whole thing with the mile-long track that Dover is, and you do at both those places have particularly fast racing. And anytime you have that, you have people going those speeds, it allows to have more action. And even though, and I think this race, again, being that it wasn't one of those insane races, I think that it was just overall a very good race.
Shane, our listeners are already bringing this point up. I had this tabbed to ask you about today. But Michael Jordan in the news on his comments on NASCAR charters. Michael says, if you don't correct that, this sport's going to die, not because of the competition aspect, but because economically it doesn't make sense for any business people. Your thoughts on what Michael said and how it impacts NASCAR in your opinion?
Yeah, and that's a very big deal. And Michael Jordan, by the way, he really does not do many interviews. Like it was, when he was talking Fox after Tyler Reddick's win at Talladega, that was one of the only times that we actually hear from Jordan himself. And so the fact that he did talk to the New York Times about this, and this charter story has been an ongoing story that just keeps developing, and it's not really leading to any solution. It just feels like there's a real tension going on between these teams with NASCAR. And essentially, to kind of briefly just summarize what the charter of stuff that's going on is that basically the idea is that in any other sports league, you have 30 or 32 franchises that are each obviously owned by somebody or a group. And if you think about it, in any league, you have people want to start a team and they own a team and then they go to a city, all that. In NASCAR, you've always had these owners who own cars that compete at the highest level, the NASCAR Cup Series. And so as you start to have more and more owners and more basically NASCAR to try and regulate everything, they said, okay, we'll have 36 charters, which is the equivalent of 32 franchises. And the 36 charters in the Cup Series, each car is basically like its own, the whole race team. So that's why now when you look, and I think it's going to be kind of cool in the future when you really start to look at certain car numbers that are already having multiple legendary drivers drive them, like the 24 that people remember Jeff Gordon there, and now William Byron drives it, or the 48 with Jimmy Johnson, and now Alex Bowman. But anyway, the big issue there with the charters right now is that basically there are a lot of disagreements between NASCAR itself and between the owners, and it feels like they're not really they haven't really been able to be moving toward kind of a point. And it was a big deal before the start of the season at Daytona 500 that this kind of first became really, really known. And it just keeps, like I said, it's ongoing and it hasn't really been moving towards something. But when you have somebody with the profile of Michael Jordan, who has the involvement and influence in this sport now, and actually going out and saying what he did, about that, and it shows you the gravity of what's going on behind the scenes there.
Shane Connick joining us on the program as he does each and every Friday at 4:20. Shane is with the Charlotte Observer and covers NASCAR for the Observer. Shane, win number 3, you mentioned it. People hate him. There's not a lot of love lost for Denny Hamlin, who just once again beat everyone's favorite driver, as he loves to say. Is Denny Hamlin right now the best in the sport?
I think he is. I really do think he is, because he's just, I mean, obviously you look at a guy like Kyle Larson, who's the other main person that you would really consider for that kind of title at this particular point. But I think that what makes Denny just a little bit, it just feels like I think it's the way that it obviously depends where you qualify. Sometimes it almost feels like Larson sometimes will qualify particularly well, just dominate the race early and then just fall back, even if he kind of has the fastest car. And that Hamlin, just no matter what race it is, he's in contention. And if he's not in contention, it's because he was in contention and then wrecked or something because he was trying to overdo something. I really do think that he is really is as strong as he's been at any point in his career. And it felt that way a lot last year as well. And like we keep saying, has to be a matter of time before the 43-year-old Cup veteran can get add a championship to his resume.
That is the question that everyone wants to know. As many wins as he has in the regular season, right? Can he finally do it and get the championship? Shane, Kansas this weekend, number 1, are you making the trip? And number 2, who do you feel like's the favorite?
Yeah, unfortunately not making the trip out to Kansas this weekend, but should be another great race at Kansas Speedway. And currently looks like Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin have been the favorites kind of open up, as it is typically Tyler Reddick, who won the last race there, is another another favorite early on. I think that it could go anyway. I think we could see a Truex kind of guy win potentially, or just a different winner who we haven't really seen yet this year. I think there really could be one of those things where anything can happen. I mean, that's what it felt like the last race when Tyler Reddick ended up getting the victory lane there.
That was the playoff race, right, Shane?
It was indeed. Yeah.
That's so interesting because, it feels like, as I just asked you about Denny, it feels like regardless of what happens, if Tyler's favored or Denny's favored at the end of the day, as much as people hate Denny Hamlin, if he doesn't win, they're happy. But if Tyler Reddick wins or one of their drivers wins, it's kind of a win-win for Denny, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great point you make about Kansas specifically. Bubba Wallace, a recent winner at Kansas Speedway as well, has been a really good track for him. And so that's something that you notice about this, that any time that Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace does win or anything, Denny being the owner of that team he'll be the one giving the press conference as the team owner, and he really plays a really big role in the growth of that 23XI team, which is really doing a lot to really innovate the sport. And obviously with Jordan, and he's extremely involved in it as well, seemingly behind the scenes and all that. But then Denny, with that racing perspective, in addition to the fact that obviously he's a full-time Cup driver for Joe Gibbs Racing still. And so to have, to have Denny potentially being in contention as a driver, and if not as an owner, it really is something, especially when you look at a few weeks back at Talladega for Reddick's win. Denny wrecked out of the race, and the big wreck toward the end, all that. You got to think what would be going through his mind or anybody's mind after something like that. But the next thing Denny knows, Tyler Reddick gets to victory lane, and he's in victory lane celebrating with MJ, and Denny's talked about that. It's just that this point in his career, that it's like no matter what he could do whatever with his team at JGR, a top team in the sport. He's winning a lot of races, running toward the front, being that good, and then the team that he owns is having so much success as well.
He is Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer. Shane, Dale Jr.'s podcast, one of the most popular NASCAR podcasts other than Denny Hamlin's podcast. Dale Jr. is absolutely killing it right now. If you listen to his podcast, you just all of a sudden fall in love. He's not he admits he's not a radio guy. He's not a guy who has this media background, but it's for whatever reason, people are drawn to Dale Jr. because of who he is, who his dad was, and the podcast. So recently, he had Richard Petty on his podcast, and Petty was reflecting on the good old days, right? The Chargers that they used to drive and how sensitive they were, and how back in the day, Petty and his team could make just an inch adjustment on the spoiler of the Charger, and it would just change tremendously. And Shane, as I hear that, and as I hear more and more drivers who drove in the era of Richard Petty, it seems like there's a overall consensus, an overall agreement that the older generational drivers don't love a lot of things about not the way NASCAR is itself, but the cars themselves, whether it's the short track package or the way the cars are now. Do you get the same sense that there's just an overwhelming opinion that the car itself isn't the best it's ever been when it comes from the old guys, but when you talk to younger guys, they'll tell you the complete opposite?
Yeah, there is, and it's a really good point. And basically, that's what we have now, the next-gen car, which NASCAR started using in the Cup Series in 2022. So this is the third year of it. With the next-gen car, teams really can't make many at all adjustments to the car. Basically, NASCAR makes what's called the chassis, which is like kind of a fancy way of saying kind of the interior of the car, like the body itself, the frame, all those parts. NASCAR makes them, they're identical. And then after they make this chassis with all the parts of the car, they send it out to each of the teams and manufacturers, and then Ford, Toyota, and Chevrolet will then build out the bodies and the teams and the paint schemes and all that. And in the day when, like you were saying, what Richard Petty was talking about, that was a big thing about these teams, that they were these, and all the drivers were these people who were just around cars all the time. And these teams were trying to figure out what they could do to make these little adjustments that were going to make it go a little bit faster and give people little edges and stuff. And basically now NASCAR has completely gotten in front of stuff like that and completely wanted to have everybody on as even of a playing field as it could possibly be, to the point that now the idea of NASCAR really is not they want you to just have the fastest car and win the race. The idea is that everybody has the exact same car, and you have to be the best at managing your pit stops. You have to be the best at managing as a team when you're going to make certain decisions and when you're going to do certain things. And if you can drive that car faster than more consistently, then if you win 6 races like William Byron did last year, that's a significant accomplishment. And if you become a 2-time champion like Joey Logano and Kyle Busch have, that's a significant accomplishment. But obviously what that has led to has been a lot more parity, a lot fewer winners, fewer people you could think in contention sometimes. And then again, those older people in the sport. But again, that's also the generational just kind of difference of that in the day, a lot of people would get into the sport because they would always be around cars and their dad may have worked in a shop and then they were all racers. And now you have people like William Byron, who's one of the sport's biggest stars. He just grew up in Charlotte and was, somewhat didn't have a racing family at all and got into iRacing, just playing video games, and now is one of the sport's best young drivers and now has so many accolades to go with it that every way you look at it, William Byron is a star, is with a star team and a superstar known car, everything. And yet he isn't that and yet even a guy like him wasn't born into it. And that now you have that, obviously then you see at the lower series, guys like Raja Caruth in the truck series, he got his first win this year, and it was a big story because he became the 3rd black driver to win any NASCAR race. And basically he grew up in Washington, D.C. racing on computers, and then already is in NASCAR winning races. That would have been unfathomable really not that long ago, because again, it was always you're around cars, all that, and certain things with cars. And now it's just a different sport that, again, you could be a car type person, someone like Chase Elliott, who comes from a racing family and all of that, and be a star in the sport. But you could also be someone like Byron or somebody like Raja Caruth or somebody who just however people get into it. It really has, it continues to evolve.
Shane, before we let you go, I told you I'm going to ask you every single week until it happens. You know what question I'm going to ask?
Yeah, maybe something about a Ford.
Is it going to happen in Kansas?
No, it's not. Because at this point, I've picked it to happen too many times that no, it will not happen at Kansas.
Now it's going to happen, Shane. Now you just made it happen. Shane, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate you.
Really appreciate it. And excited to talk with you again next Friday.
We'll do it. We will do it. He is Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer. As I'll tell you what, man, NASCAR, a lot of popularity here in the upstate. Shane does an incredible job of bringing you, the audience, you, the Tolo, the NASCAR coverage that you need and that you want. We have a lot of good feedback on Shane each and every week. All right, coming up next in the program, I'll tell you what South Carolina and Clemson baseball need to do this weekend. Clemson's already off to a good start. Alex, are they started game 2 yet? Do you know?
Yeah,
are they losing?
They were in the middle of the first earlier when we were talking about it. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so they're a good ways, 4th inning now?
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
So what Clemson and South Carolina baseball both need to do this weekend in order to position themselves in the right spot for the postseason?
Of course, your adult softball beer league counts as a sport.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Tony Desiri with your sports update on the Fan Upstate. Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves are in Los Angeles tonight, starting a 3-game series with the Dodgers. Charlie Morton will start for Atlanta, who avoided the sweep in Seattle, beating the Mariners on Wednesday 5-2. The Dodgers will counter with Gavin Stone. Braves have lost 3 of their last 5 games. College baseball, Clemson facing Georgia Tech tonight in a 3-game weekend series. Clemson ranked number 4 in the latest D1 baseball poll, coming off a series last weekend against Louisville, where they took 2 of 3 from the Cardinals. South Carolina on the road, they'll face the Missouri Tigers. That series begins tonight. The Gamecocks, who are ranked 15th, beat East Tennessee State on Wednesday 15-2. Wofford will start a 3-game series with Gardner-Webb this weekend. Tonight and Sunday's game will be in Boiling Springs. Saturday's game will be in Spartanburg. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on The Fan Upstate.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, The Fan. The Fan!
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. Now, the Infinity Sports Network.
Yeah, you have this one, yeah.
I wrote a little poem about the Masters, so I thought I'd call today and see if I could share it with you.
It was 17 minutes and 3 seconds.
His body is tattered, but with the strength of a bull, he has yet to shatter.
17 minutes?
For years we thought that the end was near, only for that Sunday red to soon reappear. Our hopes are as high as they have ever been. We've been here before, oh haven't we, my friend? He told us this week, there's a reason I'm here, and if all goes well, the roars you will hear. So here's to another run on God's grandest stage.
I'll tell you the truth. I thought that was you in this interview.
Can turn
Like,
back
that was
the
you
page.
giving that poem.
Wow.
When the first time I heard it, I was like, why would you do that and then
have a
not do it?
I like it. We should have a leaderboard of calls.
Called in.
Bobby, you are officially number 1 on the leaderboard right now.
I got to pull up for a W.
Afternoons 3 to 7 on The Fan Upstate.
You have a minute, 2 minutes.
Online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price.
In the first month. Everything's going fantastic. Everything's going just splendid. Everything's going great. However, number one, baseball seasons are so long, things can happen. Number two, what have we said a million times on this program about the Braves and just in general? Yeah, starting off great is important, but it's not the end-all, be-all. So when South Carolina and Clemson baseball both try to reach the goal this year of hosting a regional, a month ago, I was not sold that that would happen. I was not sold that South Carolina and Clemson both could host a regional. However, today, a month later, beginning of May, I do believe Clemson and South Carolina both can host. And I actually think both South Carolina and Clemson will host if the trend continues in the direction it has gone. Clemson started off fantastic, had a few injuries, and, had a little bit of a skid. However, they're winning. Beat Georgia Tech in the first game, Alex, and you said during the break it was, 4-1?
It's 4-2 mid-4.
Clemson and Georgia Tech. Yes. So Clemson going for the series win right now. Clemson has a good enough record. Clemson had a good enough start to the season that they're going to most likely host a regional. When we talk about South Carolina, we knew all along that South Carolina's schedule was brutal. And a month and a half ago, I remember specifically after the Alabama series and after, the midway point of them playing SEC ball, I thought to myself, South Carolina, man, their schedule's brutal, but they've got to improve. Like, they've got to get better as a team. Something has to change. Cole Messina just, his numbers, if you look at his statistics, Cole Messina's numbers aren't what they were last year in 2023. Now, he's playing better as of late, but South Carolina, in my opinion, I said a month ago, they have to get better. They have to start getting better. Yes, their schedule is brutal. We talked about that time and time again. But while your schedule is brutal, you had to get better. And what did Mark Kingston and South Carolina do? Well, just a few weeks ago, they turned the corner. They did what Mark Kingston does. As many South Carolina fans don't like Mark Kingston every single season has a way of, just when you think they're down and out, he has a way of bringing this team back to life. And that's what's kept his job. He has an 11-10 conference record right now in the best conference in baseball, 30-14 overall. And they've had a really good past couple of weeks. Really impressive weekend against Kentucky. And in the Arkansas series, number 2 team in the country on Friday night, they were 1 run away from tying the game late in the game. Left 11 runners on base that weekend. You can't do that against good teams. However, they come back, they take care of business, they score a ton of runs against Kentucky, they murder ETSU this past week, and now they're playing a Missouri team that they're better than. So even though South Carolina's schedule is brutal, South Carolina is now doing what I said a month ago they have to do, and that's just get better, plain and simple. A lot of times we make this too complicated when we're talking about teams getting better. The SEC, we know the SEC is the SEC, but you can't change that. What do you hear coaches say all the time? You can only control what you can control. They can't control their schedule. But Mark Kingston and those guys are getting better. And I'll put stock in a baseball team that's getting better in May, okay? I really will. I like what Clemson's done. However, I just don't know that Clemson is – that was really country. I said that really redneck. Clemson, the P.
Clemson.
If you don't know, the P is not supposed to be pronounced, but I did pronounce the P that time. That my country twang really came out that time. Clemson is not doing a bad job of where they're at, okay? They're winning games. However, I do think that their injuries have hurt them. I think that Chufa and Will Taylor being out, I think that does affect them. Now, at the end of the day, Clemson had a good enough year that they're going to host. But when you look at RPI, South Carolina looks like they're okay too. When you look at the current RPI, Texas A&M and Kentucky are 1 and 2. Clemson has the 4th highest RPI in the country. So even though Clemson's not playing in the SEC, Clemson has the 4th highest RPI in America. Where's South Carolina in RPI? Right now, they're 10. And listen, as long as they stay around 8 to 10 and keep winning, South Carolina's going to host. South Carolina's going to host a regional. So both of these teams, Clemson had a good start. South Carolina struggled at the beginning. Both of these teams, in my opinion, will host a regional. However, I put stock in the team that's trending up in May in college baseball. When we hit the holiday in, a couple of weeks, whenever, I think, is it next Monday? Is that right?
What holiday?
Well, there's a holiday coming up that happens
Memorial
every
is
season.
not
Memorial
till
Day.
20. Yeah, that's the 27th.
27th? So we're still, 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
3 weeks away. When we hit Memorial Day and we find out where these teams will be playing 3 weeks from now, I do think that both South Carolina and Clemson will be hosting. I think that they've both put themselves in a good enough position that come Memorial Day, when we find out where they go, if South Carolina continues to improve, again, they have Missouri this weekend. They have Georgia, really good team. And then they end the season with one of the best teams in the country in Tennessee. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. But I think they'll host. I really do. Right now, today, I think they'll host. Texter says this one comes from the 569. If South Carolina gets to host, they should defer to Campbell, says one texter on the text line.
I asked a friend about that yesterday. Are we going to see another Campbell-like situation where we have a small school who has been awarded a chance to host a regional and they don't get to do it because their field is too small?
It could. It probably will happen again. It'll probably happen again. Is it fair? Maybe not. But I don't think that's the last time we'll see that happen. So Clemson right now, one win away from taking the series against Georgia Tech. Still 4th inning, Alex, do you know?
Yeah, bottom 4.
Two-run game?
2-run game, bottom 4.
So Clemson and Georgia Tech, 2-run game. Again, if you just tuned in, they did start the series a little bit earlier. First game at noon. Clemson took care of business. Wasn't close. What was it?
11-4.
11-4. Clemson took care of business in a good way and is now a few innings away. They can hold on. They'll get the win against Georgia Tech, which will be a big win for them to take the series. And then they'll play game 3 on Sunday at 1 o'clock. All right, coming up next, Alex, I have Cole's crystal ball in my bag. And in the 5 o'clock segment, I will take the crystal ball out of the bag. We will look into the future 5 years from now. I put this on the Fan Upstate Facebook earlier today. I put it on the Fan Upstate Twitter earlier as well, at the Fan Upstate. We will find out when it comes to South Carolina and Clemson, what is in store 5 years from today. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Alex Guest sitting in. Diesel will be back on Monday with a funny story about his trip home today. And you're listening to Wire to Wire right here on the Fan Upstate.
You're listening to the underground of sports talk radio, where we're not afraid to get dirty.
It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Unique and unlike any other. Morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville.
W249DL Greenville.
W246CV Spartanburg. The Fan.
Upstate.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
You ready? Let's go.
It's alive! In the left side of
From the fields to the courts and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on The Fan Upstate.
I am Cole Bryson. Glad to be with you on this Friday. Everyone loves Friday. The weekend for you is probably already here. For us, we're still 2 hours away, but we would rather be here with you on this Friday. Diesel's on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. And again, I've teased this several times. You got to go follow Diesel on Twitter because on the way home today from their concert, he made a funny, very, very funny pit stop. I'll let him tell you about it on Monday. Alex, did you get my crystal ball out of the office like I asked you to?
No, you said you were getting it out of your bag.
Oh, I did say that. Okay, you're right. My apologies.
I'll go get it.
So the crystal ball, we need it for this very segment because in this segment, we're going to use the wire-to-wire Fan Upstate crystal ball. If you didn't know we had a crystal ball here at the station, well, we do. And it may be imaginary, but we have one, okay? So don't throw shade, don't throw hate. We do have a crystal ball. This is going to be a crystal ball attempt, Alex, to look 5 years into the future. 5 years into what South Carolina, not the school, but the state, will look like from a South Carolina and Clemson perspective. So here's what I want to do. I have 6 questions, 6 statements, if you will. They're more like statements than they are questions. I'm going to read the statements, and then I'm going to give the texters, the Tolos, our audience, time to get their thoughts in. Alex, I want your thoughts. I will give mine as well. But I want to give these 6 statements. And then I want to allow the texters to have a minute or two to get their thoughts in. Because I want to know if these 6 things will happen 5 years from now. That'll be 2029. 2029 is when I'm talking about these 6 things happening. Let's start with number 1, the biggest, I think, Alex. And I know that our listeners will have an opinion on this. They've already voiced their opinion on Twitter at The Fan Upstate and on our Facebook page, The Fan Upstate on Facebook. You can find us and follow us there. Get your thoughts in there as well throughout the week. But Alex Guest, I asked the question, 5 years from now, will Shane Beamer, this is just one of 6 now, so don't get too excited. Will Shane Beamer be coaching at South Carolina 5 years from now? That's a great question, but I have to have an answer, yes or no. I say no. He will not be coaching 5 years from now at South Carolina. You say?
I say yes.
Wow. Playing devil's advocate here, huh? I like it. I like the disagreement. You say yes. Tell me why you think South Carolina will still employ Shane Beamer in 2029.
I got to find the right words. You know,
Okay.
I've got to go through. I mean, there's a encyclopedia sitting in front of me, so maybe I should
Sure.
open it. But
Sure, open the encyclopedia and find the word you're looking for because I want to hear the word.
For me, you know, I think what Shane Beamer has done at South Carolina, yes, he's 20-18. It's not stellar,
Yep.
you know, but
Close to 500.
what he has done at South Carolina is more than just win 20 games. He's changed the culture at South Carolina. I mean, the culture pre-Shane Beamer, when you're going through Muschamp, and I mean, it wasn't great.
Sure.
Let's put it that. I'm just going to put it that way. And I'll be the first one to admit, if anybody knows me, you know me, anybody that knows me well enough, I'm a Clemson fan through and through. I'll be the first one to tell you that right now while we're talking about this topic.
Okay.
But what Shane Beamer has done at South Carolina, he's completely changed that culture to me.
5 years from now, I hear what you're saying. I hear.
And that's what South Carolina needs.
They need a culture. Yeah. So I'll say this. I'm going to piss South Carolina fans off. I'm sure I will. Let me know on the text 71307. Tell me I'm wrong. I know you're going to cuss me and call me every name in the book. I think that the culture that South Carolina has, that has been built from Shane Beamer, is smoke and mirrors. I think that it's smoke and mirrors right now. The culture at South Carolina, while we can get on TikTok videos, while we can wear sunglasses and make funny videos and really go viral on social media and go viral on Twitter and get the recruits buzzing, I ask myself the question, is there substance to what you've created? Because when you create a culture, there has to be substance, right? There has to be meat and potatoes. If there's no meat and potatoes, everybody's eventually going to fall off because nobody likes broccoli and Brussels sprouts, right? There's got to be some meat and potatoes. There's got to be some chicken, some steak. There's got to be some, I don't know, pot roast, whatever you want. There's got to be substance here. And I'm just not so sure that there's substance to what Shane Beamer has created. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Shane Beamer does stay at South Carolina, or let me say last at South Carolina for 5 more years. But when I'm looking into my crystal ball, I just don't see 5 years from now Shane Beamer being the coach. On Facebook, I posted this question earlier today. Larry chimes in. Larry says Shane Beamer will be gone in the next 2 to 3 seasons. Let's see what William has to say about Shane Beamer. William says the jury is still out on Beamer. The man overachieved in year 1 and 2 and 1 slip up last season, and now everyone thinks the program is in shambles is comical. Rebound year for Beamer in 24, and he quiets a lot of haters. I agree with the last part. I agree that if he rebounds in 24, he will silence a lot of haters. But, Alex, I ask you the question, how do you rebound with that schedule? How do you rebound when you're just not as talented as your opponents? Yeah, you're going to beat, the App States of the world, and you're going to beat the Woffords of the world. But you've got to rebound, just like I said moments ago with Mark Kingston in the SEC, the same conference, just as competitive. You've got to find a way to actually get better. Like, at the end of the day, I don't want to hear all the crap about the SEC. I don't want to hear the excuse. I don't want to hear the schedule. I want to see results. South Carolina fans want to see results. And South Carolina fans should expect results. Because, yeah, the SEC is a tough conference, but you know what? There's other teams that play in the SEC too. There's other teams that win SEC championships. There's other teams that win national championships playing in the SEC. So I'm just tired of the excuses, okay? I want Beamer to have success. But right now, I'm telling you, I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think the culture that's been built is smoke and mirrors for Beamer in South Carolina. 5 years from now, I don't think he's the coach. Question number 2. By the way, voice your opinion on the text line. Phone lines are open as well. 71307 is the way you can text the show. Start your text with the word fan. That way we will see what you have to say. Phone lines are open right now. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. First question was, will Beamer be the coach of South Carolina in 5 years? Alex says yes. I say no. Alex, 5 years from now, looking back into that crystal ball, shake it up. Do you have to shake a crystal ball up, or is that just one of those?
That's just the magic.
That's the magic 8 ball.
So you don't have to shake a crystal ball.
You like.
Oh, it's like smoke and fog and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'd rather shake it.
If you want to shake it, go right ahead, though.
I might drop it.
I mean, if it drops, then you know you just lost that on that.
I'd drop it, and then I'd be screwed. So, second question. South Carolina women's basketball. We talked about Shane Beamer. South Carolina, Dawn Staley, the greatest in the game, in my opinion. I love her. You love her. We all love Dawn Staley. 5 years. This is bold. 5 years from now. Alex Guest. South Carolina women's basketball will have won 2 more titles. And I don't mean SEC titles. I mean the big ones. I mean the national championships. 5 years from now, 2 more titles. You buy it or no?
I buy it.
Oh, okay.
I buy it. The only thing that stops me from that, it gets a little foggy for me is when, Dawn Staley's been doing all of these insurance commercials where Coach K is laying there poolside and
sure,
he's talking about how great retirement is, and if Dawn Staley ends up retiring,
surely not, right?
I'm just, I
then,
think,
yeah,
I
then,
think
then
they
the
do.
question would be answered, right?
I think.
You think they win 2 more in 5 years?
I think they win 2 more in.
Don't say 2 years. You better not say 2 years. Or I'm going to hit you.
I say they win 4 in the next 5 years. That's how dominant Dawn Staley is.
Brendan?
I don't bet.
You want to make a wager?
I was going to say.
Wager. Remember, I have 4 kids. I'm about to have 4 kids.
You want to make a non-monetary wager?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. If I'm right, you have to wear the Atlanta Falcons jersey. If I win, and if you win, I'll wear the Dallas Cowboy jersey.
If you're right, I'll wrap my entire car in Atlanta Falcons gear. South Carolina's not winning 4 of the next 5.
Well, what about okay? Let's rephrase it then. I'll say 3 in the next 5 years.
No. Wager's only 4.
Okay.
Wager's no good.
All right, so 4. I say 4 in the next 5 years. South Carolina does it.
All right, I'll take the bet.
I was going to say 2.
What do I have to do? Okay, how about this? You wrap the car if I win. If you win, I have to wear your Dallas Cowboys chain for an entire day.
For an entire year.
Okay, I can do it for an entire year. Yeah, for an entire day or an entire week. I will wear that chain. How's that? Sound good?
I gotta have more than a week, Brad. I gotta have more than a week.
How about 3 months?
3 months.
Sound good?
Every day for 3 months.
Every day.
All right.
For
Everybody
3
has
months
heard that
through football season.
It's on public record.
It's on public record. If I'm right and South Carolina wins 4 out of the next 5 years in the championship,
yes,
Cole has to wrap his entire car with Atlanta Falcons gear.
Yes.
If he wins, I have to wear that Dallas Cowboys chain every day for 3 months. Even though that's the ugliest chain ever created, I have to wear it.
Madcraft says on the stream, that's what I said. Remember, Cole, the SEC can't have their cake and eat it too. A difficult SEC schedule is not an excuse for failure. Madcraft, listen, I might agree with you one day. I might disagree with you another day. Okay, I agree with you today. Okay, wait till tomorrow. I may disagree tomorrow, but you're right. Can't have your cake and eat. I've never understood that expression. I've never understood that whole thing. But that's besides the point. All right, so we've gotten 2 out of the way. We've got 4 more to go. Our crystal ball, the Fan Upstate wire-to-wire crystal ball. We're looking 5 years into the future. Alex said Shane Beamer will be the coach at South Carolina 5 years from now. He says they will win 2 more titles, talking about women's basketball. I want to skip number 3. And I want to go to number 4. Alex, let's go to number 4. Let's skip 3, go to 4. South Carolina men's basketball, Lamont Paris. In the next 5 years, we'll have 1 Elite 8 appearance. I say, abso-freaking-lutely. He will have an Elite 8 appearance, if not this year. If not this year, he will at least have gone to the Elite 8 once in the next 5 years. Cam Scott, Nick Pringle, he may mess around and do it this year. But I'll say, yeah, one time in 5 years, that'll happen.
I say abso-freaking-lutely
Don't
not.
say not. Don't say not. Are you kidding me?
Really, with what's going on with him
I
right
say
now,
no.
and the fact that he is nailing #1 recruits, you would say he's not going to make an Elite 8 in the next 5 years?
I can't just agree with Cole on everything.
I think he makes at least 2. I have that, and I'm not a Gamecock fan. I'm a University of Hawaii guy, and I wholeheartedly have bought into what Lamont Paris is doing over at South Carolina.
That explains a lot.
Oh yeah,
Alex, why will South Carolina men's basketball not make an Elite 8 in the next 5 years?
Cole, I don't know. I was just disagreeing with you.
Well, that's a great conversation. Great answer. Great analysis.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's your answer. Good night, y'all.
Great radio.
Great radio. So you do think it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I just think the way he's recruiting, I think the way that he is building a culture with substance in a hurry in the SEC. Listen, this past season, Lamont Paris, their team had no business being as good as they were.
Weren't they like favored to be the number 8 in the SEC, and they ended up dominating all the way to the championship?
Favored to be last. South Carolina this past year overachieved in every single way possible. They didn't start the season off incredible, but Lamont Paris is building a program with substance, and I do believe that they will have an Elite 8
How about this one?
appearance in the next 5 years.
Do you think Lamont is still the coach in the next 5
course.
years?
Yeah.
Texter says from the 704, fan, you can't have your cake and eat it too means that you can't, or that you can either have it or you can eat it, but you can't eat it and have it because it'll be gone. I know, it's weird. It's a weird expression. All right, 5 years from now, we wrap up this with 2 more questions. 2 more questions. And then I want to play some audio from Nick Saban. Brandon, that'll be cut number 2 coming up. I want to get to this audio. It's a very funny story that Nick Saban shared, and I heard it this morning, and I just think that I'm going to play the audio for the audience to hear, but as good as Kalen DeBoer, I'm not getting down a rabbit hole here, but as good as Kalen DeBoer is going to be, we're going to miss Nick Saban, man. We're going to miss him, and I'm glad that we'll still have him in a broadcast position. All right, we'll hear that audio from Nick coming up in just a second. Dabo Swinney, Alex Guest. I look into this crystal ball, and I ask the question, 5 years from today, 2029, Dabo Swinney will have won another national title at Clemson. I'll let you go first this time. What do you say?
No.
You're breaking Tiger fans' heart all across.
I'm breaking
the
my
upstate.
own heart.
You say no, why?
I mean, the same reason why they, transfer portal.
Okay.
All the changes that college football, all the changes that college athletics have faced in the last 5 years since Clemson last won their last national championship. Clemson is not what's the word I'm looking for here, Cole? Clemson's
behind
not,
the 8 ball right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Dabo's still stuck in the pre-2010s.
Exactly.
So Dabo Swinney winning another national title at Clemson. We look into the crystal ball. Alex says no. Alex, I have to agree that I do not think Clemson will reach another national title, nor will they win a national title in the next 5 years. I think that Dabo, as you've stated, as we've stated on record,
I don't think
times,
they do with Dabo as the coach.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting point because that would mean that Dabo wouldn't be there.
Correct.
That's a bold statement there, Cotton. You never know, though. Never know. I don't think they do either. I don't think they win another national title in the next 5 years simply because there are too many teams right now that have cultures and coaches ahead of Dabo Swinney. Dabo doesn't have a bad culture in place. I'm not saying that. Don't hear me wrong. Dabo's a good coach. Dabo's won national championships. Dabo's one of the best coaches in college football. But when you talk about culture and coaching, Dabo doesn't have the assistants he had. Dabo doesn't have, number one, the recruits that took him to those national championships, right? And unless something drastic changes, I don't see it happening. Texter from the 431 says, I got one even better. Dabo will not be at Clemson in 5 years. Exactly what Alex just said. Not exactly, but Alex did hint at that. I think it'll be interesting to see Texter, I don't know that I can say he won't be at Clemson. I think he will. I think that in 5 years he will be at Clemson. I don't think that a national title's in the future in 5 years, but I do think that Clemson gets into the playoff because, newsflash, the
going to
playoff's
12
gonna
teams.
It's going to have 12 teams. It's going to be
And then
easier,
for only
right?
2 years, and then it
14,
goes to
yeah.
14.
And it's going to be easier to get into the playoffs. Clemson should, now that the playoffs have been expanded, Clemson should be in the playoffs every single year playing in the ACC.
Agree.
So because of that, I think Dabo's going to get the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to be in the playoffs. And in 5 years, he may have them in the Final Four. He may have them in the Final Four, but I don't think they win a natty. Last one before we hit a break and before we hear Nick Saban audio. We got to get this one quick. Brad Brownell will be the coach at Clemson in 5 years.
No.
I say no. I agree. I don't think he will either. All right, let's take a break. Come back. On the other side, we will talk to Jordan Mahaffey. Something going on in Greenville this weekend that you need to know about. It's going to be a great event, rain or shine. It's the Reedy River Duck Derby. We'll tell you about it next.
Always streaming on the free Odyssey.
nasty weather coming this way this weekend, but guess what? I like events that say, you know what? Regardless of if we have nasty weather coming or the potential, we're going to have this event, rain or shine. And that is exactly what we're doing right here in Greenville. I want to tell you about it, but I also want to bring in Jordan Mahaffey to tell you about the Reedy River Duck Derby. Jordan, how are you?
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
We are absolutely wonderful. Looking forward to hearing about this event, and also want you to help our listeners, our audience, know that this thing, like I said, it's rain or shine, and I want you to tell our listeners how they can be a part. I know a lot of the ducks are already sold out, but how they can still be a part of the Reedy River Duck Derby tomorrow.
Well, yes, you are absolutely correct in that we are going rain or shine. Our seasoned racing ducks do not care because they're going to be in the water one way or the other. We are starting all of the fun festivities around 11 a.m. in the morning. We will have souvenir booths, the hat contest, all kinds of cool things for you to come down and see. Check out all the sponsors from the race, meet some of the charities that are benefiting from the race, and overall have a great time. And then at 2:30, you'll hear a trumpet call from Liberty Bridge, and the ducks will be off racing to the end of the falls where the barrier has been set up by HEPACO to make sure we catch each and every duck and we get them in order.
Now, Jordan, you know, I have severe ADHD, and you talk about the ducks with the rain or shine, and you say seasoned duck. And when you say seasoned duck, my mind goes other places, but we're talking about rubber ducks here, right?
They are. So they are official racing ducks of the rubber duck variety. They spend their racing season going from city to city, participating in derbies to make sure that everybody has a chance to raise money for their community in a fun, family-friendly environment.
That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. Where do the proceeds, Jordan, by the way, we're talking to Jordan Mahaffey, talking about the Reedy River Duck Derby tomorrow. The proceeds that are collected, where do they go from this event, Jordan?
So they all go right back out into the community and to charities that have partnered with us, applied for grants, and have worked alongside of us to make sure that every single one of our 14,000 ducks were adopted, and they were as of Thursday morning. So we give all of it right back out into the community. The Rotary Club of the Reedy River is a fully nonprofit organization. We are part of Rotary International, where our whole purpose is to make our world a better place through community service. And so this is just our big event to make sure that we can fund as much into Greenville as we can.
That's fantastic. It really is. Anytime you can support an event that gives back to the community, we're all for it. Now, I want to know, for someone like me, Jordan, who's never been to this event, if we have a little bit of rain, and let's say that Reedy River gets a little bit more reedy than we anticipate, what does this thing look like? I mean, do these ducks, describe it for us for someone who's never been.
So thankfully, the falls flow in a very nice direction, and the natural barrier provided by the Reedy River makes that part very easy to make sure all the ducks get down to the barrier that HEPACO sets up. We will have volunteers and Rotarian members lining all the way down the falls to make sure that no duck jumps out. All the ducks are staying in the line that they need to stay in, and then HEPACO has done the barrier for us for so many years, and they have set it up to where we don't miss a duck. They all are collected and captured at the end of the race so they can go right back on, and none are left in our river so that we create no pollution.
That's fantastic. Jordan Mahaffey on with us to talk about the Reedy River Duck Derby. Jordan, for someone that would like to come out and see this tomorrow, that doesn't have a duck in participation, number one, is it a free event? And number two, where would be the best place for someone maybe who has kids to set up so they can see this?
So it absolutely is a free event. If you have not gotten your ducks, but you would still like to contribute to the cause, you can do so at our website, duckrace.com/Greenville. It will give you a link where you can still donate and make sure that you are a part of helping us give back to our community. There are going to be food trucks lining up along Main Street around Falls Park, down on the Furman College Way. There are lots of places that you can come and find a spot to be. The bridge will be full. The sides of the river will be full. So my suggestion would be to get there a little early, find a comfy spot, and then just have a good time.
Jordan, we sure do appreciate you hopping on with us. Great stuff. We look forward to it. Listen, I hope the weather works out, and appreciate you hopping on with us.
Thank you so much, everybody, and I appreciate you listening to the Fan.
Absolutely. That's Jordan Mahaffey, the Reedy River Duck Derby tomorrow again. Jordan said it. Listen, this thing is rain or shine. Festivities start at 11. You want to come out, get a little food truck action? Who doesn't love a food truck, right? I mean, if you say food truck, I might be there. I had no plans of being there tomorrow, but food trucks involved, Alex, I might have to make an appearance.
I'm always there for food trucks.
I mean, who's not there for food trucks? I did not know. I will admit, this is me being me. When this was first announced, I did not know. I said, Duck Derby. This is the first time I've heard of it. I said, are these real ducks? I thought they were real ducks. Never been to the Duck Derby before. Have you been?
Once.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
They do something similar to in Atlanta too, where they go down the Chattahoochee River. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Chattahoochee. The Duck Derby tomorrow. How about that?
It was one of those, when I got there, I'm like, what am I doing?
When'd you go?
Yeah, it's been a few years, probably. It was pre-COVID.
I'm sure that's the excitement's even more now than what it was then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what it was then. I was like, what did I get myself into? But I mean, it's a really cool event. I mean, it's not every day you see 14,000.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
Rubber ducks going down the river.
That's a lot of rubber ducks. I would hate to be the person that has to collect the rubber ducks, but the proceeds, as Jordan said, they do go back into the community. So the ducks are sold out, all 14,000, which is incredible. The Rotary Club just does an absolutely phenomenal job with this. And if you want to be a part of it, again, the festivities start at 11. But the duck drop,
I love that.
Not the puck drop, but the duck drop.
I love
is
that.
at 2:30. All right, I want to hit some daily wires before we go to break. I want to let you know tonight, the Atlanta Braves, they're in L.A. First pitch, 10-10. So take your drink your coffee, drink your energy drink of choice if you are a Bravos fan, and let's see if Uncle Charlie can get it done tonight. Morton is 2-0 on the season, 3.60 ERA, 30 innings pitched, going against Gavin Stone for L.A. 2 NBA first-round series concluded last night. Indiana beat Milwaukee, and New York beat Philadelphia. Tonight in the NBA, Cleveland looks to close out Orlando, 3-2 lead there. Dallas looks to close out a very good, in my opinion, a very good LA team. So we'll see if that one goes 7 or if Dallas takes care of business tonight. Clemson baseball. Alex, I'm going to ask you to pull up and see if you can give us a Clemson baseball update. They host Georgia Tech this weekend. They moved the scheduling around a little bit because of the rain. Tomorrow, game 1 was earlier this afternoon. Clemson had no problems in that one. They won big, 11-4 over Georgia Tech. Game 2?
It is 7-3 Clemson in the bottom of the 6th.
How about that? Add a little insurance runs there for Eric Bakich and the Tigers. So I don't want to jinx it, but barring something catastrophic, Clemson looks like they're a few innings away from taking the series, which would be a really nice win for the Tigers. And then Sunday, you get a day off. You can regroup. Sunday, you go for the sweep at Doug Kingsmore. South Carolina baseball, they're in Columbia this weekend, but it's the other Columbia, Missouri. They're taking on Missouri in a 3-game series. USC Upstate tonight, they start a 3-game series themselves against High Point. Spartanburg has 2 really good baseball teams this year, Alex. Upstate and Wofford both playing well. At one time this year, Wofford led the entire country in batting average, slugging percentage, 3 or 4 different categories. Wofford's been hitting the ball. So 2 really good teams in Wofford. We'll see what they do come postseason. Upstate, again, they're hosting High Point. Wofford is in action at Gardner-Webb in a 3-game series. Diesel and I will be on location on May 11th for the announcement of the new Spartanburg baseball team. It's at Morgan Square in downtown Spartanburg. So we invite you. Go ahead and put it on your calendar. Go ahead and plan to be there on May 11th. Should be a fantastic event. I look forward to it. Diesel and I, like I said, will be there. We're not going to be on air. We will be live on Facebook and Twitter for a portion of the reveal. What's your best guess? What is Spartanburg? I was upset they went away from the Wood Ducks, man. I like Wood Ducks.
I mean, who's to say that they are, though?
I don't think they are.
So wait, we had the mayor on a while back, and you know what he said was it's going to be something attributing to both the Sparkle City and trains. So I actually said, what about the sparkling locomotives?
I would say not the sparkling. I don't know if I'd go with that. That sounds a little too
They may go, yeah. I mean,
what about the locomotives though?
I could see them going instead of Spartanburg. I could see them going the city name like Hub City, the Hub City, whatever. You know, I don't know.
I don't have a great guess. I don't have a great guess, but I would say I hear what you say when you're talking about them keeping it related to the city of Spartanburg. Spartanburg has a rich baseball tradition and history. People don't know, if you just moved here, there's been several professional teams come through Spartanburg over the years, the Phillies and the Braves.
Yeah.
A rich history in Spartanburg, and I think the city, the people of Spartanburg County, I think they're going to support that baseball team. I really do.
Absolutely.
It's going to be great. Texas Rangers affiliate. Don't know if we'll get to see the World Championship trophy or anything this year, but it'd be cool if we could. But
what about naming them something related to the Texas Rangers, like the Spartanburg Rangers? Remember they had the Spartanburg Phillies.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm terrible at guessing. I'm terrible at trying to guess team names. But I am excited. So that's May 11th. That is a Saturday. We invite you to join us on location at Morgan Square. So we'll be excited about that. We'll continue to remind you as we get closer and closer. Excuse me, another announcement about being on location. Diesel and I will both be on location in May on the 14th. Well, what is the 14th, you ask? We will be wire to wire. We'll be live at the Lodge at Lake Bowen Commons in Inman/Boiling Springs. It's on Highway 9. You know where Highway 9 goes in toward Lake Bowen. It's the Lodge on the right, the big wedding venue. We'll be live at the Lodge on the May the 14th from 3 to 7 p.m. for the Gamecock Club's Welcome Home Tour. Shane Beamer will be there. We will be there live on location that day. So I believe right now there are still tickets available for the event if you want to see Coach Beamer at the Gamecock Club event on May the 14th. But I'll say this. They're probably going to go fast. So you better get them now. We will be set up outside live on location. Look forward to seeing our Gamecock fans there on the 14th. The Lakers. Alex, they have fired Darvin Ham. They didn't waste any time with this one. Yesterday, Michael Duarte came on the program and said he did not anticipate Darvin Ham being the coach much longer. Any surprise there?
No, not at all.
What about this one? Michael Irvin out at NFL Network. Any surprise on that one?
That surprised me. Yes.
Man.
Yes. When you brought that up earlier, that surprised me.
I'm telling you, man, that is going to be somebody. I still think somebody will pick up Michael Irvin. I really do. I think he's too much of a personality not to pick him up. Lastly, the Miami Dolphins. They have made a huge splash today in free agency. OBJ is going to Miami. He's no longer a Raven. So he goes from the Ravens to the Dolphins, from Lamar Jackson to Tua Tagovailoa. What do you think about that? Let us know, 71307. Do you think that OBJ is still I don't want to say in his prime, but still has enough good football left to impact the Dolphins? I said earlier, Alex, that I think he'll be enough of a presence if just to create more space for Tyreek Hill, which is a scary thought.
Right.
but I do think he has enough left in the tank to make a difference.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think he's enough of a marquee name, and he's going to, like you said, he's going to create the space for Tyreek Hill, if anything.
I'm interested to see. For whatever reason, I was not last year. Like Miami had issues last year beating quality teams. At one point in the season last year, Miami had one win over a playoff team. So they just couldn't win the big ones last year. I'm interested to see if a move like that, plus what the Miami Dolphins did in the draft, will be enough to allow them to actually beat good teams and be a contender. We'll see. It should be very interesting. OBJ is still an interesting player. We'll see if he's enough by himself to make an immediate impact. I think yes, but we shall see. All right, coming up next, I want to know from our audience. This question has been burning. And I thought about this last night, and I said, you know what? I've got to bring this up on air. I've got to ask our audience what they think. Because you know the old phrase, you get what you pay for? Is that always true? Or sometimes do you just accept what you pay for? I'll tell you what I mean by that coming up on the other side. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is Wire to Wire.
Game on, gloves off. We aren't pulling any punches.
This is Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
I love what
Roger
Roger
with your
said.
sports update on the Fan Upstate. The NASCAR Cup Series will be racing at the Kansas.
Ambi Sports takes at the door. Call in if you're man enough.
844 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Texter says OBJ still garnishes double teams. He will do great for the Dolphins. Texter, I'm with you. This comes from the 303. Texter, I agree. Again, it doesn't matter that he's not necessarily in his prime. What matters is, number one, he's still a weapon. Number two, he can garnish double team. Hey, listen, I agree with your text that he still can garnish double teams. However, this may sound crazy at the same time with you. I would disagree because I'd say, look, yeah, on any other team, he can garnish a double team, but you can't double team OBJ if you got Tyreek Hill in the slot or on the outside, you know? So that's your point. That's my point. He will be great because it's going to make it very challenging for defenses to have to figure out how to game plan for both. Because both are still good. I'd say Tyreek's still in his prime. I would say OBJ's left his prime, but he's still got good ball ahead of him. I think he does. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Also, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That is how you can get in touch with Wire to Wire. Diesel's on a little vacay. He'll be back on Monday. Alex Guest from the Saturday Morning Scramble sitting in. Alex, I have to ask a question.
What's up?
You get what you pay for. You heard that?
Yeah, I've heard that.
You believe that?
Most of the time.
I think I'm ready to believe it more than ever.
Okay. Why?
I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I go to the gym 5, 6 if I'm
minutes
lucky.
A week?
Oh, a year. I go to the gym 5, maybe 6 times a week.
Okay.
And my schedule, because this is not my only job, it's different. It's different every day. I go at a different time. It may be first thing in the morning. It may be like last night. It may be 8:30 at night. It may be 11 o'clock in the morning. But I'm about ready to raise the banner and use and cash in on the phrase, you get what you pay for.
Okay.
I'm done with $10 to $20 gym memberships. Text the show 71307. Am I out of line for this, or am I just being brutally honest? Number one, at $10 to $20 gym memberships, you're going to get a lot of people, right? So, it's not a monetary figure that people look at each month. So they're going to keep their membership. It's a great business model.
Yeah.
But it's busy. You're going to have anybody can go afford a membership at this particular gym. There's many of them out there like this. Number two, and this is what just tears me up on the inside. It burns my grits more than anything else. I'm at the gym last night, and this was like the 5th or 6th time this has happened in I don't know, the last few weeks. This lady or this man, doesn't have to be a lady, doesn't have to be a man, this person will go to their machine or their workout space. And, when it's crowded, you're waiting on them to get done so you can use it because you're working out the same thing they're doing. Air quotes. They get on that machine, and what's the first thing they do? They pull out their cell phone, and they're on that cell phone for 4 to 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, are you going to use the leg lift? Are you going to work out those big old freaking legs? Because Lord knows you need to. Or are you going to keep scrolling TikTok? And they will stay on that phone and stay on the phone. And you know what they'll do? They'll finally do about 4 reps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, Alex, they pick their phone back up.
Are they at 20-pound lifts, though? That's it?
They may be 30. And they'll be on that phone for another 5. Oh, then guess what? Make you, hello? Yeah, what's up, man? And then they'll get on their phone, start talking on it. I'm tired of the anyone's welcome gym memberships. In my entire life, I've not gone to the gym consistently as much as I've needed to. The past, 4 or 5 months, I've been going every day. And I think I'm to the point where I'm just sick of it. Is that wrong? Is that a bad mindset? Is that a selfish mindset?
Well, you're a diva.
Am I? Am I a diva for
Maybe.
wanting to to not have to wait an hour?
So you would rather, and I agree with you. You know, I feel like there was a time in my life, and you look at me now, and if I told you that I went to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, you'd laugh in my face and you'd say, no, you don't. And I'd say, yeah, you're right, I don't. but there was a time where I was going to the gym 5 or 6 times a week. And I agree with you. You know,
what do you call them?
There are way too many people out there that are casual gym goers. And I was one of those casual gym goers that just goes and you sit on a piece of equipment and you pull out your phone and you're doing, or you go with the buddy.
Yeah.
And both of you are sitting on
and talking.
Separate pieces of equipment and you're talking and
Sure.
having a conversation instead of working out.
Well, at least it's better than having the ones where you go to the gym and the guys are screaming like little kids when they're screaming as loud as they possibly can.
I would rather go to the gym and have to put up with honks screaming than have to put up with
casual
people who
workouts.
are 400 pounds overweight
What about
sitting
the
on my station?
What
I'm
about the
waiting for.
gymfluencers? You know,
I
the
don't
ones
mind
that
them.
like,
Mind
go
Like what,
and
the
set up
TikTokers
their-
that-
that go
Oh,
and
yeah.
set up their phones.
I don't have any problem with that. I'll be honest with you. You know why? They're there
because they're working out.
They're working out. Yeah, they're on their phones.
They're
Yeah,
using the equipment.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're you can see by the videos they're in great shape. They're in great shape. The people I'm mad at are not in great shape. They went to Taco Bell before they went to the gym.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it wouldn't be a great idea to go to Taco Bell before you go to the gym. Okay, just a public service announcement. All right, coming up next, the final hour. I'm about to segment. The final hour of the program, Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Alex Guest sitting in today. I want to look at the 2024 quarterbacks, Alex, that were drafted just a week ago. One of these quarterbacks has to, in my game that we're going to play, one of these quarterbacks has to win a Super Bowl. Which quarterback? You can go ahead and get your thoughts in on the text line 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Which quarterback that was drafted will be the first to lift the Lombardi? I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Strap in. We're going full throttle. Crip it and rip it. WFBC HD3 Greenville, the official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. The Fan.
Upstate.
An Odyssey Sports Station. You ready?
Let's go.
It's alive!
From the fields to the courts and the gridiron to the tracks,
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
you're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
I am Cole Bryson. This is the Fan Upstate, the newest show here in the upstate of South Carolina. Appreciate you being a part of the program. Alex Guest sitting in today. He is with the Saturday Scramble every Saturday during the fall. That's where you can hear him and myself during football season on Saturday mornings. Diesel is on a mini vacation. He will be back on Monday. I want to say thanks to everyone who has supported the show. We've had a lot of nice comments on our text stream as well as on social media. And the best compliment of all, as I mentioned briefly yesterday, the almost now 800 downloads in the past week of just the end of April to today, almost 800 downloads on our show, Wire to Wire. Very, very appreciative of you, our listeners, supporting us by downloading and listening to Wire to Wire every day, 3 to 7 p.m., 97.1 Spartanburg, 97.7 Greenville, anywhere in the world, Odyssey app, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So many ways for you to get in touch with the show. Want to remind you, we had Jordan Mahaffey on about an hour ago with the Rotary Club talking about the Reedy River Duck Derby tomorrow. I know the weather's supposed to be a little bit iffy, but the good news is this is a rain or shine event. She said these are seasoned ducks, okay? They're not scared to get wet. They're not scared to
they're going to be in the river anyway.
They're going to be in the river. They would get wet in the river, right? That would make sense. Most of the time, you're in the water, you're going to get wet. And these ducks, 14,000, is that what she said?
14,000.
That is a lot of freaking ducks, man. I would.
And if I remember correctly, they're not like they're bigger than a fist.
No way.
I think. Yeah.
Now who? I didn't ask her. I didn't have time to ask her. The duck drop is at 2:30 tomorrow.
Yep.
Where do they drop them? You know, I want to be a part of that. I mean, I can 14,000 ducks. That's a lot of That's a lot of ducks being dropped. Again, the festivities start downtown Greenville tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Food trucks, all kind of activities for your kids. It's a free event. Obviously, though, food trucks there. You can buy your lunch, and it'll be a great event tomorrow. Rain or shine. Hope you can be a part of that. All right, let's look at this next topic, this next question, if you will, that I have proposed to the audience. I want to know, Alex, when you look at the 2024 quarterbacks drafted, which quarterback, the question, the burning question, the answer that we have to have, what quarterback will hold a Lombardi first? Okay? I'm not talking about Kirk Cousins. I'm not talking about quarterbacks already in the league. I'm talking about Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Spencer Rattler. Those are the main ones. And Jordan Travis wouldn't really throw him in there. Joe Milton wouldn't really throw him in there. But the 7 main ones. Let's even include Rattler of South Carolina. Just for kicks and giggles, Alex, okay? Just for kicks and giggles, let's throw Rattler in there. So again, we have 7 quarterbacks on the board. Rattler, Penix Jr., Oregon. McCarthy. Did I say Oregon just now?
You did.
Bo Nix from Oregon. After I said that, I said, wait a minute. I don't remember a quarterback's name, Oregon. Michael Penix, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. After we tell you why, let's look at their roster. Let's look at their division. Let's give some supporting facts, some legs to see how this could actually happen. Alex, this is a tough question because the reality of it is these quarterbacks, in my opinion, aren't necessarily in situations where they're on good teams, win now. I mean, you talk about Chicago Bears, not really a good team, right? Washington Commanders haven't been relevant in a long time. New England Patriots, maybe. Let's see. Michael Penix and the Falcons haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time.
Falcons have never won a Super Bowl, sir.
That's a long time. Let's see. The Vikings, maybe have a decent roster around J.J. McCarthy. And then Spencer Rattler in New Orleans, Alex. So in your opinion, I'll give you mine, but I'm going to let you go first, being the gentleman I am.
I appreciate that.
What quarterback of the rookies drafted, the 7 that we're talking about, if you have to pick one, what quarterback, in your opinion, will be the first to hoist a Lombardi?
If I have to pick one, I think I got to go J.J. McCarthy.
Ooh. Who? I did not expect you to say that.
Who'd you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to pick who I was going to pick.
Well, who are you going to pick?
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
But I want to hear on J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
From Michigan.
And that pains me to say, too.
From Michigan?
Yeah.
Not a lot of love lost from Michigan.
No, not at all.
Listen, man, I don't hate your answer. I think it's an interesting answer, but I want to hear, in your opinion, J.J. McCarthy, Minnesota, are you basing that on the situation, what's around him, or is there something else that makes you feel, or is he just the best quarterback in your opinion?
I don't think he's the best quarterback in my opinion, but I am basing that on what's around him, what's already established in Minnesota.
Good head coach.
And good
Kevin
head
O'Connell.
coach. Good. I mean, they've got the talent there.
J.J. Jefferson.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson. J.J. I don't hate that. That's not who I picked, but I do not hate it. I actually have a friend of mine that plays for the Vikings, so I would love for you to be right.
Okay.
I would love to, for his sake.
I don't have a friend that plays for the Vikings.
Well, I can introduce you to him. That way he can be your friend.
Hey, I have a coach with the Minnesota Vikings I can introduce you to. And
there you go.
So, yeah, Mr. Cole and
I think that, Alex, the Minnesota Vikings, to your point, if you're going to make a run in the division, if you're going to make a run to the Super Bowl, you've got to have a quarterback, obviously. You've got to have a capable quarterback. Now, you don't have to have the best quarterback in the league. We've seen Joe Flacco's win a Super Bowl. But I think J.J. McCarthy, when it's all said and done, I don't think it'll be anytime soon. But I do think J.J. McCarthy, to your point, is a good enough quarterback to eventually lead a team, a very good team. They've still got to add some pieces. But Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in the league, in the National Football League, you got to have a good coach. I think Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach.
Yep.
You got to have a quarterback. You got to have a team that has some experience. The division, though, you look at Green Bay, you look at Detroit, you look at Chicago. Green Bay's good. Detroit's good. I don't hate your pick, but I just think that the Minnesota Vikings are in a division that's trending up, which is going to, I think, make it tougher on them. Chicago hasn't been relevant in forever. However, I do think they're trending up. I know I'm in the minority for whatever reason. I love Caleb Williams. I love what he has the potential to do in Chicago.
I have a question on this one for Alex.
Okay.
I'm looking at the 2024 free agents that they made, signings they made this offseason. Out of all of them, who do you think could help get them over that hurdle to win the Super Bowl? I mean, realistically, they didn't do much of any signings this offseason. The only one they really did good with was, I say, is Aaron Jones, the running back. That's the only one I say is really good.
Really good. That's a really good pickup.
But then you also have to look at who they also signed as their backup quarterback, Sam Darnold. He was more robust than anything. But then you look down the list and you don't really
problem with
see an
that is,
additional
Brian,
offense.
Sam Darnold's not the one that has to lead them to a Super Bowl.
But he might possibly have to say JJ. He say he beats out JJ, or they make JJ sit for a year to learn.
Let me tell you.
So it's a double-edged sword, is what it is.
If you take a quarterback that high, I don't think you're sitting. I just think JJ's the guy.
Did you forget the city of Atlanta?
Well,
we
again,
did pick number 8 for a quarterback for the future.
Again, they picked high. They went with the best player available, and we'll see. So to your point, Alex, I don't hate the pick. I don't hate the Minnesota Vikings. I like JJ McCarthy. He proven winner, played a lot of college, a lot of college ball, experienced quarterback, has good, really, really good traits. I think, pains me to say, being in my division.
Don't you dare say the Saints.
I think Jaden Daniels has so much upside. And I think Dan Quinn is an elite coach. Dan Quinn has taken teams to Super Bowls. Dan Quinn knows what it takes. He's a defensive-minded guy. Washington has a really good defense. They've had a good defense for a while. I think the upside of Jaden Daniels is enough to propel them to a Super Bowl. And listen, that division, the NFC East, that my Dallas Cowboys are in, it's different every year. They haven't had a back-to-back winner in that division, the same winner in a very, very long time. I love the upside that Jaden McDaniels provides. And if I'm playing this game to answer my own question, again, it's a tough question because these teams aren't the most elite teams in the league. The best picks don't go to the best teams, right? The worst teams pick first. So it does make it challenging because you do have to understand that the team's not very good. However, I do love Jaden Daniels. I don't think Jaden Daniels has the potential to be a bust. The Commanders haven't had a quarterback that was worth a crap since RG3, and he was injury prone. But you saw how good he was before the injury. Very good quarterback. Madcraft on the stream says, I think it's crazy to think the Bears are now miraculously better than the Vikings in this division. The Packers will demolish them both. Quinn took one team to a Super Bowl, and he created the NFL best meme in the process. Madcraft, your very first statement, I think it's crazy to think that the Bears are now miraculously better than the Vikings. Who said that? I don't know that anybody has said that, have they? If they have, I haven't recalled anyone on this show saying that. I'm high on Caleb Williams, but I don't know that anyone said the Bears are now better than the Vikings. I think the Bears are better.
I think he's saying that.
Oh, is that what he's saying?
I think that's what he's saying.
Madcraft, let us know.
Cole, you said that the Commanders/Redskins haven't had a good quarterback since RG3.
Sure.
I have to interject in there. I think the best quarterback they had in a long time was Rich Gannon. That was probably the best one.
RG3 though.
That was before RG3. And that's literally since
RG3.
Well, since I'm going to go further back, I'm going to say it's been since Rich Gannon. That's how long it's been that the Commanders have had a good quarterback.
I think you don't think RG3 was good?
I think he was okay. I don't think he was good. RG3 was too injury prone. Even he was that way at Baylor.
That don't have anything to do with his game on the field though.
He made some questionable throws quite often actually.
3,000 yards rookie season, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
I still say he was not as good. I mean, Donovan McNabb was pretty darn good too at the Redskins.
Followed it up with another 3,200 yard season, 16 touchdowns. RG3 was a very good quarterback. Injuries are what hurt his career.
Absolutely. What about Trent Green? Do you think Trent Green was a good quarterback for the Redskins?
I don't remember Trent Green enough to know. I'm just saying, Brennan, since RG3.
I don't think there's really been any good ones since RG3.
That's my point.
But I mean, but I would say it's even further. I say RG3 is good. I don't think he was great enough for them. Could RG3 have won them the Super Bowl? No.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think he could have. he didn't have the right coaching or the right pieces around him. Had he had a better coaching staff, there's a very real possibility he could have. But it just, again, it goes back to your coaching and it goes back to the pieces you need to be able to win the Super Bowl.
So I would say, Alex, you say J.J. McCarthy. I say Jaden Daniels. The NFC, it's interesting with this new breed of quarterbacks. It really is. But I think it's interesting when you look at Washington in the spot that they're in. People don't realize, I think one mistake people make is they look at a team. Let's say Washington, for example. Washington has been pretty bad the last few years. Casual sports fans, Alex, will make the mistake of looking at Washington and saying, okay, Washington hadn't been any good. They don't have any talent. Well, one who watches Washington, and I see them twice a year because my team plays them twice a year, they have a really good defense. Like a really good defense. They have good pieces on that team. So something that sometimes we have to remember that just because a team's not winning yet doesn't mean they don't have talent. They have talent on that Washington team. And when you have a team that is talented on defense, just hasn't found the right quarterback in a long time, you bring in a defensive-minded guy like Dan Quinn, you know, Austin Eckler, we'll see. We'll see what he does in 2024. I think they still do need some help at the receiver position. Jamison Crowder, Davion Davis, Jahan Dotson. We'll see, right? The Scary Terry, the jury is still out on their receiving core. I think they need help there in a massive, massive way. I really do. However, you look at Dorrance Armstrong, who came from my Cowboys, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler Jr., KJ Henry, Andre Jones Jr., Joshua Pryor, Jonathan Allen, Jahir Newton, Daron Payne, John Ridgeway, second year in the NFL, Bobby Wagner. It's not a bad defense. Not a bad defense at all. So if Dan Quinn gets the right, and again, this pains me to say, if Dan Quinn can get the right staff in place and continue to improve his running back and receiver room, I say look out for Washington. They've got the right ownership. Ownership matters. They've got rid of Snyder. They've got a good coach. I think Washington's a team to watch. I really do. I'm excited. All right, coming up next in the program, we will hear from Shane Connick. We talked to him in the 3 o'clock hour. If you missed that interview with Shane, we will have that for you next. If you're a NASCAR fan, I would advise you to stay tuned. We'll talk about last week's race at Dover and this week's race at Kansas Motor Speedway. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
Remember, it's 17 minutes long, so you're good.
Unfiltered sports insanity on Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel on the Fan Upstate. Take control of your listening experience with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Missed a jaw-dropping moment? No worries.
The Odyssey app makes it easy.
With Rewind, you can relive big moments from Rob Brown, Jim Rome, and more. Don't miss a beat. Just hit Rewind with the Odyssey app on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk,
I hate this guy who does this weather report, Ray Miller.
Upstate's most trusted forecast.
Sounds terrible.
Fan Upstate.
There's another guy that talks, and you can barely hear him.
Storms, a low of 63 degrees.
Well, there's a guy that also does it. I don't remember his name, but he talks like very monotone. And you're like, oh my God, I can't hear this guy.
Thunderstorms again. On a high temperature of
So it frustrates me.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller on the Fan Upstate.
I didn't know this, but
right now,
majority of their
79.
weather reports come from Minnesota. Yeah, Jennifer Wojcicki, whatever her name
Who
is.
doesn't love free?
Wojcicki?
With Milo's rewards,
She's from
you get the
Minneapolis,
member-only
Minnesota.
treatment that's actually worth it. Enjoy free
I'm like,
member
that's
gifts
kinda crazy.
you'll
You
love.
get- you broadcast
And once
from
you
there.
reach Silver Key status, you can get free standard shipping because Lowe's knows nothing feels better than
Holy cow,
free.
I'm about to go back
Learn
and
more
forth.
about our new loyalty program at
That was the fastest break ever.
Lowe's rewards today. Program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Member gifts may be subject to additional terms and restrictions. See Lowe's.com/shipping
You have a good
terms for details.
17-minute
Subject to
break.
change.
Enjoy nonstop flights on Breeze Airways to 5 cities from GSP International Airport.
That guy was
Breeze Airways
arguing
now
with me
offers
and
nonstop
said,
flights and low fares to
whoever
Los
you're
Angeles,
talking to
California
at the
from
Greenville
GSP
Drive is wrong. They
International
only pay
Airport.
$200 a game. And I go, what are you talking about, dude?
That's flybreeze.com.
I'm like, I know people who are pretty big up there at the drive. They've been covering the drive for a long time. And he's like, well, they haven't.
Upstate.
Yeah.
I am Cole Bryson, and this is Wire to Wire. Glad to have you along with us. Diesel will be back on Monday. A little brief vacay for Diesel, and he'll be back on Monday. Excited to have him back. He did make an interesting pit stop today. And I'm not going to spoil the news, but if you follow on Twitter, you will see where Diesel made a pit stop at today, and he will talk about that pit stop that he made on his way back next week on the program. Very, very entertaining. Want to bring in now our weekly Friday guy. He is Shane Connick. You can follow him on Twitter at Shane_Connick. That's CONNUCK. Shane, what's up, man? How are you?
Cole, I'm doing great. What has happened?
Glad to talk to you. I love talking every Friday to you to get your thoughts on what happened in the past race as well as look at this Sunday. But before we get to this week, Shane, your thoughts on Dover. I thought it was an interesting race. I watching and following along, it seems as if as a NASCAR fan, they can the casual NASCAR fan can get involved and become, I don't want to say a Dover fan. They can become a fan of the Dover track itself. But Dover, to me, runs a little bit like Bristol. And I know everybody loves Bristol. So, in your opinion, what were your thoughts on the race Sunday, as well as your thoughts on my comparison with Dover and Bristol?
It was another good race on Sunday, and it was not the craziest of races, but anytime you're going to get Denny Hamlin in victory lane, you know it's going to be a good one. But the Monster Mile, like you were saying about Delaware, it's a unique track, and obviously, first off, just the part of the country that it's in. You don't have many races in the Northeast other than Pocono in Pennsylvania and then Loudon up in New Hampshire. So that race really brings a lot of people out to, probably their only race of the year. And so that alone always, and this year was a particularly good Dover crowd, it felt like. And that really adds to just the whole juice of the day, especially on Sunday. And that was something they were talking about all weekend, that it felt like the best Dover crowd in recent years. Then beyond the crowd and all that stuff, it's just one of the fastest tracks. And I think that that's why you make a great comparison with Bristol, because yes, they're different sizes. Bristol's a particularly short track. And then the whole thing with the mile-long track that Dover is, and you do at both those places have particularly fast racing. And anytime you have that, you have people going those speeds, it allows to have more action. And even though, and I think this race, again, being that it wasn't one of those insane races, I think that it was just overall a very good race.
Shane, our listeners are already bringing this point up. I had this tabbed to ask you about today, but Michael Jordan in the news on his comments on NASCAR charters, Michael says, if you don't correct that, this sport's going to die, not because of the competition aspect, but because economically it doesn't make sense for any business people. Your thoughts on what Michael said and how it impacts NASCAR in your opinion?
Yeah, and that's a very big deal. And Michael Jordan, by the way, he really does not do many interviews. Like it was, when he was talking to Fox after Tyler Reddick's win at Talladega, that was one of the only times that we actually hear from Jordan himself. And so the fact that he did talk to the New York Times about this, and this charter story has been an ongoing story that just keeps developing, and it's not really leading to any solution. It just feels like there's a real tension going on between these teams with NASCAR. And essentially, to kind of briefly just summarize what the charter of stuff that's going on is that basically the idea is that in any other sports league, you have 30 or 32 franchises that are each obviously owned by somebody or a group. And if you think about it, in any league, you have people want to start a team and they own a team and then they go to a city, all that. In NASCAR, you've always had these owners who own cars that compete at the highest level, the NASCAR Cup Series. And so as you start to have more and more owners and more basically NASCAR to try and regulate everything, they said, okay, we'll have 36 charters, which is the equivalent of 32 franchises. And the 36 charters in the Cup Series, each car is basically like its own, the whole race team. So that's why now when you look, and I think it's going to be kind of cool in the future when you really start to look at certain car numbers that are already having multiple legendary drivers drive them, like the 24 that people remember Jeff Gordon there, and now William Byron drives it, or the 48 with Jimmy Johnson, and now Alex Bowman. But anyway, the big issue there with the charters right now is that basically there are a lot of disagreements between NASCAR itself and between the owners, and it feels like they're not really they haven't really been able to be moving toward kind of a point. And it was a big deal before the start of the season at Daytona 500 that this kind of first became really, really known. And it just keeps, like I said, it's ongoing and it hasn't really been moving towards something. But when you have somebody with the profile of Michael Jordan who has the involvement and influence in this sport now and actually going out and saying what he did, about that, and it shows you the gravity of what's going on behind the scenes there.
Shane Connick joining us on the program as he does each and every Friday at 4:20. Shane is with the Charlotte Observer and covers NASCAR for the Observer. Shane, win number 3, you mentioned it. People hate him. There's not a lot of love lost for Denny Hamlin, who just once again beat everyone's favorite driver, as he loves to say. Is Denny Hamlin right now the best in the sport?
I think he is. I really do think he is, because he's just, I mean, obviously you look at a guy like Kyle Larson, who's the other main person that you would really consider for that kind of title at this particular point. But I think that what makes Denny just a little bit, it just feels like, I think it's the way that it obviously depends where you qualify sometimes. It almost feels like Larson sometimes will qualify particularly well, just dominate the race early and then just fall back, even if he kind of has the fastest car. And that Hamlin, just no matter what race it is, he's in contention. And if he's not in contention, it's because he was in contention and then wrecked or something because he was trying to overdo something. I really do think that he is really is as strong as he's been at any point in his career. And it felt that way a lot last year as well. And like we keep saying, has to be a matter of time before the 43-year-old Cup veteran can get a championship to his resume.
That is the question that everyone wants to know. As many wins as he has in the regular season, right? Can he finally do it and get the championship? Shane, Kansas this weekend, number 1, are you making the trip? And number 2, who do you feel like's the favorite?
Yeah, unfortunately not making the trip out to Kansas this weekend, but should be another great race at Kansas Speedway. And currently looks like Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin have been the favorites kind of open up, as it is typically. Tyler Reddick, who won the last race there, is another another favorite early on. I think that it could go anyway. I think we could see a Truex kind of guy win potentially, or just a different winner who we haven't really seen yet this year. I think there really could be one of those things where anything can happen. I mean, that's what it felt like the last race when Tyler Reddick ended up getting the victory lane there.
That was the playoff race, right, Shane?
It was indeed. Yeah.
That's so interesting because, it feels like, as I just asked you about Denny, it feels like regardless of what happens, if Tyler's favored or Denny's favored at the end of the day, as much as people hate Denny Hamlin, if he doesn't win, they're happy. But if Tyler Reddick wins or one of their drivers wins, it's kind of a win-win for Denny, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great point you make about Kansas specifically. Bubba Wallace, a recent winner at Kansas Speedway as well, has been a really good track for him. And so that's something that you notice about this, that any time that Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace does win or anything, Denny being the owner of that team really, I mean, he'll be the one giving the press conference as the team owner, and he really plays a really big role in the growth of that 23-11 team, which is really doing a lot to really innovate the sport. And obviously with Jordan, and he's extremely involved in it as well, seemingly behind the scenes and all that. But then Denny with that racing perspective, in addition to the fact that obviously he's a full-time Cup driver for Joe Gibbs Racing still. And so to have, again, I mean, to have Denny potentially being in contention as a driver and if not as an owner, it really is something, especially when you look at a few weeks back at Talladega for Reddick's win. Denny wrecked out of the race and big wreck toward the end, all that. You got to think what would be going through his mind or anybody's mind after something like that. But the next thing Denny knows, Tyler Reddick gets to victory lane and he's in victory lane celebrating with MJ and Denny's talked about that. It's just that this point in his career that it's like no matter what he could do whatever with his team at JGR, a top team in the sport. He's winning a lot of races, running toward the front, being that good, and then the team that he owns is having so much success as well.
He is Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer. Shane, Dale Jr.'s podcast, one of the most popular NASCAR podcasts other than Denny Hamlin's podcast. Dale Jr. is absolutely killing it right now. If you listen to his podcast, you just all of a sudden fall in love. He's not he admits he's not a radio guy. He's not a guy who has this media background, but it's for whatever reason, people are drawn to Dale Jr. because of who he is, who his dad was, and the podcast. So recently he had Richard Petty on his podcast, and Petty was reflecting on the good old days, right? The Chargers that they used to drive and how sensitive they were and how back in the day, Petty and his team could make just an inch adjustment on the spoiler of the Charger, and it would just change tremendously. And Shane, as I hear that, and as I hear more and more drivers who drove in the era of Richard Petty, it seems like there's a overall consensus, an overall agreement that the older generational drivers don't love a lot of things about not the way NASCAR is itself, but the cars themselves, whether it's the short track package or the way the cars are now. Do you get the same sense that there's just an overwhelming opinion that the car itself isn't the best it's ever been when it comes from the old guys, but when you talk to younger guys, they'll tell you the complete opposite?
Yeah, there is, and it's a really good point. And basically, that's what we have now, the next-gen car, which NASCAR started using in the Cup Series in 2022. So this is the third year of it. With the next-gen car, teams really can't make many at all adjustments to the car. Basically, NASCAR makes what's called the chassis, which is like kind of a fancy way of saying kind of the interior of the car, like the body itself, the frame, all those parts. NASCAR makes them, they're identical. And then after they make this chassis with all the parts of the car, they send it out to each of the teams and manufacturers, and then Ford, Toyota, and Chevrolet will then build out the bodies and the teams and the paint schemes and all that. And in the day when, like you were saying, what Richard Petty was talking about, that was a big thing about these teams, that they were these, and all the drivers were these people who were just around cars all the time. And these teams were trying to figure out what they could do to make these little adjustments that were going to make it go a little bit faster and give people little edges and stuff. And basically now NASCAR has completely gotten in front of stuff like that and completely wanted to have everybody on as even of a playing field as it could possibly be, to the point that now the idea of NASCAR really is not they want you to just have the fastest car and win the race. The idea is that everybody has the exact same car, and you have to be the best at managing your pit stops. You have to be the best at managing as a team when you're going to make certain decisions and when you're going to do certain things. And if you can drive that car faster than more consistently, then if you win 6 races like William Byron did last year, that's a significant accomplishment. And if you become a 2-time champion like Joey Logano and Kyle Busch have, that's a significant accomplishment. But obviously what that has led to has been a lot more parity, a lot fewer winners, fewer people you could think in contention sometimes. And then again, those older people in the sport. But again, that's also the generational just kind of difference of that in the day, a lot of people would get into the sport because they would always be around cars and their dad may have worked in a shop and then they were all racers. And now you have people like William Byron, who's one of the sport's biggest stars. He just grew up in Charlotte and was, somewhat didn't have a racing family at all and got into iRacing, just playing video games, and now is one of the sport's best young drivers and now has so many accolades to go with it that every way you look at it, William Byron is a star, is with a star team and a superstar known car, everything. And yet he isn't that and yet even a guy like him wasn't born into it. And that now you have that, obviously then you see at the lower series, guys like Raja Caruth in the truck series, he got his first win this year, and it was a big story because he became the third black driver to win any NASCAR race. And basically he grew up in Washington, D.C. racing on computers and then already is in NASCAR winning races. That would have been unfathomable really not that long ago because, again, it was always you're around cars, all that, and certain things with cars, and now it's just a different sport that, again, you could be a car type person, someone like Chase Elliott, who comes from a racing family and all of that, and be a star in the sport. But you could also be someone like Byron or somebody like Raja Caruth or somebody who just however people get into it. It really has, it continues to evolve.
Shane, before we let you go, I told you I'm going to ask you every single week until it happens. You know what question I'm going to ask?
Yeah, maybe something about a Ford.
Is it going to happen in Kansas?
No, it's not. Because at this point, I've picked it to happen too many times that no, it will not happen at Kansas.
Now it's going to happen, Shane. Now you just made it happen. Shane, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate you.
Really appreciate it, and excited to talk with you again next week.
You're going wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
I am Cole Bryson. Diesel is out. He will be back on Monday. Funny story coming up on Monday and a really funny guest on Tuesday. Stand by. Stay tuned to find out what that story may be and to see who that guest may be. Very, very interesting. All right. To close the show, Alex, I wanted to bring this to the table because this was very important / relevant and happened today in the world of Twitter. I retweeted it. You can find me on Twitter at @TheColeBryson. A little bit of breaking news. PJ Hall announced today, 8 hours ago, he put out a statement. And the statement from PJ Hall said, 4 years ago, I made what I now know to be one of the best decisions of my life. To be a Clemson Tiger, over these last 4 years, God blessed me with such an incredible school, team, coaching staff, and fan base. I can't thank him enough for doing so. Without Jesus, none of this would have been possible. I want to specifically thank all of my teammates and coaches for believing in me throughout my entire career. You helped propel me to where I stand today, and I couldn't be more proud of what we accomplished together. For 4 years, I poured absolutely everything I had into Clemson. I wouldn't change one thing about my career. With that being said, I will be chasing my dream and entering my name into the NBA draft. Thank you, Clemson family. Signed, PJ Hall. No big surprise here, right?
No.
I think everyone realized.
What? No. I think he's a great player, but a little too premature because according to ESPN, he's like a late second rounder.
What do you mean too premature?
I mean, maybe he should come back for one more year to help solidify his chances to go higher in the draft. Because like I said, he's projected as a late second rounder. He may not even be drafted.
I think that the draft mock drafts that we looked at on Wednesday, Diesel and I, he was projected at somewhere in the 40s to early 50s, which is mid-second round. I think PJ Hall has definitely, probably, I don't want to say definitely, I'm sure PJ Hall has heard from the right people involved with NBA teams in the draft that it's time to go because he's going to get picked. I think that PJ Hall, number one, is the best Clemson basketball player to come through that university in a very long time.
100%.
What he did for the program, what he did for Brad Brownell and keeping his job. Yeah. Let's just be honest and call it like it is. PJ Hall was phenomenal for Clemson. I think PJ Hall can translate his game into the NBA. And we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday. But what's very interesting about this is, as you know, when you go to the NBA, you can be a big, and that's great. You can have size, and that's great. But what do you have to do in the NBA? You have to be able to, even as a big, shoot the basketball. And PJ Hall, Alex, has proven that he can definitely shoot the basketball. He is a threat from outside. He is a threat from mid-range. So that's where I do have hope. That's where I do have faith that someone like PJ Hall can go to the NBA and be successful. Obviously, PJ Hall being a Spartanburg guy, going to Dorman High School. I saw him a lot during high school, and then obviously in his 4 years at Clemson. PJ Hall has the intangibles when you talk to his coaches. Not only does he have the height, not only does he have the IQ, the basketball IQ, and the skills necessary, but PJ Hall has what, in my opinion, is one of the most important things, and that is the intangibles. You cannot coach intangibles, right? Those are things that you have to have as a player. As good as a coach as you may have, I do believe that PJ Hall has what it takes to make it to the league. Now, we all know that when you get to the league, you're going to have to be able to defend. You're going to have to be able to, when someone pulls you out on an island, as the NBA very much is now a pick and roll type game, you're going to have to be able to switch. You're going to have to be able to guard the best shooters in the world on the island. But one mock draft from Bleacher Report has him slated to go 46 overall to the San Antonio Spurs. That pick would come via the Lakers, but this mock draft from Bleacher Report says PJ Hall is mocked at 46 and 6'10", 238, 22 years old. Pro Comparison, Dean Wade, says PJ Hall's strengths and weaknesses were evident during Clemson's 4 NCAA tournament games. As I said the other day, I think the 4 NCAA tournament games for PJ really helped his draft stock.
Absolutely.
Because, let's be honest, people knew who PJ was nationally, but being prime time, being in those time slots, being in the Elite Eight, as well as he played this season, he was Clemson's leading scorer. It definitely helped. It said that PJ, this Bleacher Report article where it shows him being mocked at 46 to the Spurs, says that he showed his ability to get shots off in the post by sealing defenders, spinning off, fading away. He showed his confidence in his shooting range, even if the threes weren't falling. It also says Hall became vulnerable when forced to face up and put the ball down. And despite encouraging form and shot-making ability, his 31.5 three-point percentage reflects some unreal ability. I do not think that PJ Hall is going into the NBA. Listen, I get this article, and I hear the 31.5 three-point percentage. Unreliability. Yeah, I just don't know that I buy that. I don't know that I buy that PJ's unreliable as a shooter, because when you lead Clemson in points per game, you're shooting the ball well enough, right? Clemson was a very good team. I wouldn't classify his shooting as unreliable, but here's where I would push back on this from Bleacher Report. What big man has a three-point percentage higher than 35-40? Tell me, show me. Because if they do, I'd love to find them. What guy who's 7 foot tall shoots at 40% clip from three? I don't think there's many. So big news today from PJ Hall, declaring for the NBA draft. I wish him nothing but the best. I think that it's time. He flirted with it a little bit last year. He flirted with the possibility of going pro and decided to come back to Clemson. And I absolutely think he made the right decision. I think he made the right decision, and I think he made the right decision today. I think he's making the right decision now by going pro. And I think that he's good enough to be an NBA player, whether that's a backup or whether that's, a guy coming I don't want to – again, it's hard to project what role he'll have. But I do think with his size, I think he'll be a good NBA player. Excited for PJ, happy for him, and excited to see what the future holds. Hopefully, he will land in the right spot. Do you have a Clemson baseball? Let's see if we can find a Clemson baseball update.
Let's.
Because they were in Game 2 – Clemson baseball, and if you didn't know, if you just tuned into the program, they moved their schedule around this weekend a little bit because of the weather. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
This is not good. The Yellow Jackets have scored 4 in the 8th, and it is now 12-11. We are headed to the bottom of the 8th. Things just got dicey.
Wow.
At Doug Kingsmore. Cantarella's had a good game. Seems like the bats are hot, but for whatever reason, Clemson's arms are
plenty of time.
Well, plenty of time for Georgia Tech to keep scoring too, right? For whatever reason, Clemson's not holding up in the pen today.
12-11 Clemson?
12-11 Clemson.
Okay. Yeah.
Heading to the bottom of the 8th.
Well, all you got to do is get 3 more outs.
3 more outs, then you go to the top of the 9th.
No, I mean, Clemson's just got to get 3 more outs.
Sure. And make sure they don't. Yeah. Easier said than done. It's a loss of words, though. I mean, to be up as big as they were.
I mean, considering that Georgia Tech has scored 8 runs over the last 2 innings.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
Really appreciate everyone being a part of the program today. In case you missed it, we did earlier talk about a lot of things, but earlier in the show, I wanted to go back to this real quick. we did hit on, I can't find it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh, the crystal ball.
Ah.
We did hit on the 5 o'clock segment. We got a lot of feedback on Facebook and Twitter from this, but we hit on Cole's crystal ball, Alex, and we asked the question. And I wanted to go back to the one that I think is the most interesting, the most talked about, which is Shane Beamer. We look in the crystal ball, and the crystal ball basically said, okay, what will things look like in South Carolina 5 years from today in the state regarding Clemson, regarding South Carolina? And the first question we asked was, will Shane Beamer be the head coach at South Carolina in 5 years? And you said, Alex.
I said yes.
You said yes. You thought he would be the coach in 5 years. I said no. Again, I think this is the one of the 6 that got the most reaction. And as we looked into this crystal ball, there's so much to consider, right? You talked about the culture at South Carolina. And while Shane Beamer has built up a lot of, I don't want to say, because in my opinion, he hasn't built a culture that's sustainable, that has much substance. But while he has gotten people's attention, while he has gotten the nation's attention, my point is, Alex, the jury's still out on if the culture itself has any substance to it. That's where we find out. Does South Carolina improve? Do they get better? We will see you next week, Monday. Diesel will be back. Wait till you hear where Diesel stopped today. He'll tell us about it on Monday. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
If you work a 9 to 5,